We'll get started because we got a lot to talk about. We had an in-person reporter at the Steelers game this week. Not really.
Boots on the ground.
Boots on the ground. You already kind of told me off air kind of what it was like. But yeah, 2-man podcast today. But yeah, Cody, tell me about the Steelers game.
So I went to the Lurs game this weekend. I was
the Brownies.
Against the Brownies.
Revenge game after Jameis cooked him last time in the snow.
Jameis stunk, as he does sometimes. So we were sitting in the end zone opposite the Megatron. Or Jumbotron. Either way. It was awesome. It was a great time. Never been there. First time. Long time watcher. First time attender, obviously. So I was with my wife and our friends. And Icy Lights were drank because when in Rome. I mean,
absolutely, yeah. It's where, Icy Light is a Pittsburgh
Iron
beer.
City.
Yeah, absolutely, You
got to drink that.
Pounders for $10, he said?
Yeah, $10. Not bad. Not bad at all. I'll take it. No, the game, it was awesome. I got to walk through the stadium. We did a whole lap when we first got there. We got there right when the gates opened, so we were one of the first ones in. Got to see all the memorabilia, some of the Lombardis. Got to see some of the old jerseys, including the original B jerseys.
Bumblebees, the originals.
They had some of the OGs.
Do you know
or
who
at least
it was?
One of the OGs.
I don't even know who played in that era.
I don't know because it was.
Couldn't even tell you.
I forget when it was from. 1960 something.
That's what I was thinking.
I think is when it said it was from.
I'll look it up.
The Killer Bee jersey is what we call them nowadays. And then in that same area, we were walking through, looking at all the cool memorabilia because it's awesome, and there's just partying going on everywhere in the stadium. And then
the Hall of Honor.
Yeah, Hall of Honor. And then I'm just walking through, and our friends that we went with, they're like, "Do you want to see Charlie Batch?" I'm like, "What kind of question is that? Do I want to see Chuck Batch?" Yeah, I do want to see Chuck Batch. So we went over. We saw Charlie Batch doing the radio thing with, I think, Bob Patriano, I think his partner's name is, or something along those lines. I probably slaughtered it. But
Italian.
Yeah, it's Italian. But no, it was awesome. I ate pierogies. They have a pierogi restaurant in there, which is awesome.
Because
the most Pittsburgh thing. When in Rome, have to. Next time I go to a game, because there will definitely be a next time, we need to
bring a
tailgate.
Crowd. Yeah, tailgate, yeah.
The tailgate scene down there starts about half mile from the stadium, is what it feels like.
I mean,
it's just filled.
It's going to be damn cold. It's going to be Week 18. Steelers might be sitting some guys, but I have off for Week 18.
Hey, it's well worth it. The stadium was awesome. We, of course, got a beautiful day. Steelers beat up on the Browns, as they do.
We'll get into it.
Yeah.
We'll get into it.
Steelers are looking good, but yeah, I had a great time. And then my day was going great. We were all having a great time. And then I was thinking to myself, oh man, it's like third, fourth quarter. How can this get any better? Steelers are winning, looking great. And then it goes silent. Too silent. And then you hear, "Oh mama, I'm in fear for my life from the long arm of the law. Hangman is coming down from the mountain, and I don't have very long." Yeah! And then it just da 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 da, and then by that point, the song started, and I'm already just whipping this
Four
thing.
icy lights deep.
Yeah, 4 icy lights deep, just swinging this thing. Steelers are winning, so I'm of course being obnoxious, and I had a great time. I might have slightly sprained my rotator cuff. I might have to take a week or two off from too much terrible towel waving. It was awesome. It was a great game. Highly recommend. Stadium's beautiful. It's great. It was just a great time.
I need to go. I'm excited for Week 18 because I think that this is seriously going to happen. I mean, it's going to be a cold tailgate, but I mean, when you're drunk,
Let's
you're warm.
suit up.
Yeah, exactly.
If we get, there's some of the lots that would be the ones to go to. I think my buddy told me that they were reserved lots.
Okay.
But they're under the bridges, which is kind of cool, but kind of
yeah.
protects you from the elements.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also in that game too. I mean, we'll get into it, but those 2 missed kicks by Dustin Hopkins happened coming towards me. We were the most obnoxious people. I was just standing up with my terrible towel, just nope, wide right.
Were you near any Browns fans?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
And then by the end of the game, obviously they were starting to leave. Like there were a few Browns fans trickling out. There were not many in there. It was packed out. I think on the Jumbotron it said there were like 65,000 and some people there, and Heinz Field seats, Acrisure seats about 68 some. So I mean we were packed out to the gills.
Jeez, yeah.
Browns fans started going out, and we let them hear it. And of course, me, 4 icy light pounders deep, I got an aisle seat. So they're walking right by me, so I got to be, have a nice drive home. I did make friends with one Browns fan, though.
Okay.
I was in the drink line getting my icy lights, and a Browns fan was behind me, and he did go grab for something else, a Yingling. And I'm like, okay, I'll take it. Yeah, Pennsylvania beer. Yeah. And he's like, are those any good? Icy lights. I'm like, yeah, they're pretty good. And he's like, you know what? I'll try one.
Oh,
I'm like,
you turned.
I respect it.
He might be bleeding black and gold.
And he
now.
did, and we cracked him before we left the cash register. And he's like, you know what, buddy? It's pretty good. I'm like, you know what?
You just made.
I respect it. Yeah.
You just flipped the man over.
I did, and he went his way. But yeah, it was. I forget what I was starting to say before that. I think that was Cleveland. Yeah. There, I wish you could hear it on the TV copy because I'm sure you can't because they edit that stuff out.
Yeah,
but there were chants of Cleveland sucks, Cleveland sucks the whole way around the stadium, starting middle of the third quarter, and it went the whole rest of the game. It was, it was a rush.
Well, we sang. We're basically introed. That was probably one of the best intros that we've done.
Good.
Well done, buddy.
I felt pretty good about it.
Yeah, we felt pretty good.
When that song came on, I completely forgot that happened because I was so immersed in everything going on. I forgot that Renegade was a thing, and that was like the thing I was most looking forward to.
Yeah.
It lived up to the hype.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like the whole crowd was just sea of yellow, just waving, screaming. It was incredible. It was awesome, and I will go again.
Let's go.
Yeah, it was sweet.
Sweet.
So on that note, let's get into it.
Yeah.
This is episode 59, two-man crew, Kean Crop, Cody Crop. Today we got our Week 14 review, so we'll get into some of these games.
14, Week 14.
We're in the thick of it now.
Woo. Yeah.
Games are getting tighter, it seems like. Competition's getting bigger.
Division races.
Yeah, division races are heating up and switching spots and all kinds of exciting stuff. And college is, of course, heating up. College, we have to touch on the playoff choices now.
I'll be next episode.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Next episode, we'll talk about those conference championships, though. What happened in those games, because they were pretty good also, at least most of them.
Yeah.
So let's get right into our review, and of course, at the end, we'll glaze some folks.
Yeah.
As we do. Maybe we'll do 2 this episode since we're two-man crew.
Yeah.
Let's get into it.
Yeah. Let me just, right off the top, you can kind of see our camera. I mean, your camera quality, if you're a real one and you watch all of our episodes, you know our camera quality has always kind of been shit.
Yeah.
Well, now it's kind of like the shits after you eat Taco Bell. It's like really steaming shit. Cletus is he's our cameraman. Truth be told, full transparency, we're using a cell phone through like a recorder app that it's connected to my computer via like Wi-Fi, and like there's too many connections going on, so it makes the camera quality even more shit. But hey,
but we got decent mics.
Yeah.
As long as you can hear us, all right.
Oh man, if you listen to our first episodes, you would know that we have came up from the bottom. But yeah, let's get in. Let's talk football.
Yeah. So this is what MWC.
Yes,
Championship. Mountain West Championship.
Mountain West Championship, and this one for some reason was in Boise State. I don't know if it was always supposed to be there.
I have no idea. I was wondering that too, and I didn't look into it. But I'm assuming it was planned ahead of time.
I'm guessing, like whenever the Bucks won the Super Bowl at home and stuff like that. But yeah, Boise State had a home game here, and as if they needed the help, they went off and won 21-7. We're not going to talk too much about UNLV. UNLV obviously did not make the playoffs, but UNLV did have one hell of a year because they had that whole scandal midseason where their starting quarterback and their starting running back both left the team because they weren't being paid. They weren't being paid what they were promised whenever they signed with UNLV.
Yeah, it was a mess.
And UNLV still finished the season 10-3, 10-2 before this game here. But hell of a year for them, honestly. I don't know how they did what they did. The quarterback is still very young, and obviously this is like his maybe like 6th or 7th start. Malik Williams. He's much more of a runner at this point in his career, but threw a pick, didn't throw any touchdowns, but ran for 56 yards. It wasn't great on UNLV's side. As you can see, they only scored 7 points, and that wasn't until the fourth quarter whenever they were already down 21-0. So we're going to talk Boise State.
Yeah.
Because Boise State is now the number 3-4 seed.
Yeah, I was trying to look for that, but I mean, they got an automatic entry because they won.
Yeah. So they won the Mountain West Championship, and they are now 12-1 on the season. They're only lost to Oregon by 3 points, but Boise State offense is legit, no doubt. They earned that first round bye. As I just said, only lost number three seed. Okay. Only loss was to Oregon in their second game of the season. They only lost 34-37. Yes, I know they're from the Mountain West Conference. They have a weaker schedule, but to beat literally everyone on the schedule, meaning 9 out of their 12 wins this season were by at least 9 points. That's just impressive. I mean, you're still playing Division I football. It's not like they're a tiny, tiny conference. It's like FCS. These guys are still FBS. Mm-hmm. And Ashton Jeanty is going to get all the credit, and deservedly so. I mean, Jeanty had more rushing yards than his quarterback had passing yards in 6 out of 13 games this year.
Yeah, it's
insane. And then they had one game where Jeanty and the quarterback, Maddox Madsen, literally had the same amount of yards. So that is over half of the time he is rushing for as many yards, if not more, than his quarterback is throwing for. But I'm going to talk a little bit sophomore quarterback Maddox Madsen. He deserves some credit too. I mean, I know there are way, way more open passing lanes when Ashton Jeanty is your running back because the defense is constantly focused on stopping Jeanty. But Madsen basically just had to distribute the ball and protect the ball, and he did just that. I mean, Madsen on the season, he threw for 2,714 yards, which is 208.8 passing yards per game, 22 passing touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, and only 10 sacks. Now, only 3 picks, only 10 sacks, that's what you want. Jimmy Garoppolo'd his way to winning season. Just hand the ball off, let him do the work. But this offense feels like a light/diet version of the Oregon offense. I mean, meaning that you cannot stop them. You can only hope to somewhat slow them down and then hope your offense can keep up and match whatever points Boise State puts up because, I mean, you're not stopping Jeanty. No. You're not stopping him. This Boise State defense, though, may be a problem against these big schools with more athletes and highly renowned recruits because Boise State doesn't get the recruits, the athletes that an Alabama does. Obviously, Alabama's not in the playoffs, but Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, all these schools just get tons of guys from the ESPN top 300 every single year. And Boise State just doesn't get that, so they're just going to have to dog their way through it. But whatever playoff run Boise State can make really does fall on the shoulders of Ashton Jeanty, and that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. So
no, not at all.
Because in this game, let me just tell you his stats because it was another crazy workload for him, but he went 32 carries, 209 yards on the ground, which is an average of 6.5 yards per carry over 32 carries and only 1 touchdown. Man, that's sad.
It is.
And then he added another 14 receiving yards through the air. So, but Ashton Jeanty is the motor. He is the tires. He is the frame. He is everything for this team. And if he were to ever get hurt, which I don't think he can, he's basically
I don't think so either.
He's Iron Man out there. But he's amazing.
He is incredible.
Yeah.
We'll go to the next game where we had a player doing his best Ashton Jeanty impression. One of your boys from Arizona State. So the Iowa State game, Iowa State went to Arizona State. I don't know where they played.
It wasn't a home game.
No, it wasn't a home game. But Iowa State took on Arizona State for the Big 12 championship.
Yes.
And Arizona State absolutely dog-walked, steamrolled, mollywopped, whatever you want to say, Rocco Becht in that Iowa State team. It wasn't even close. And it's just to start off, it's just an awesome story because Arizona State University comes from the Pac-12, which is now shut down. They were picked last to go into this Big 12 conference, and they just have dominated all year long, and then go to the conference championship to play a team that's been pretty good all year also in their own right, way better than they have been in the past.
A history of producing successful players out of Iowa State. I mean, you got Breece Hall, you got Brock Purdy. That's all I can think of right now off the top of my head, but there are more guys.
Yeah, and then they just come out and just dominate and get to the college football playoffs and just an amazing run, an incredible run behind their coach, who's awesome, Kenny Dillingham. Mm-hmm. So he's just been awesome this year too. But getting into that game, in that dominating win, Cam Scadaboo, absolute dog. He just ran over everybody. He was doing everything in this game. He ended up 16 carries, 170 yards, which that's 10.6 a carry, if you didn't get that. 2 touchdowns. So he was just incredible this game, as he has been, especially these last few weeks. But you've been talking about him for weeks, like through the year, that he's just he's an absolute dog.
He's flown under the radar.
Yeah, he really has.
Get this man over the radar. Or whatever.
Get this man above the clouds.
Start talking about him. He's crazy.
He's been incredible these past few weeks, and maybe people actually saw it this week and hopefully respect it going into the playoffs, because this Arizona State team right now, this is not a team you want to play. No one wants to play this team right now. Both sides of the ball are clicking. Scadaboo is obviously a dog, but their redshirt freshman quarterback, Sam Levitt, he had an incredible game too. He ended up 12 for 17, 219 yards, but in those only 219 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had an incredible game. Passing, rushing. He ended up 7 for 33 with a touchdown on the ground. So he was looking incredible. And their whole team, their head receiver, Stovall, he was 4 for 91. And then he was the main catcher of those passes. But Guillory, I think is how they said his name, Guillory, he ended up with 2 touchdowns on 2 receptions for 29 yards. And Scadaboo added in, of course, another reception just because he is an absolute dog, like I talked about. But that ASU team is hot, and like I talked about, their offense, their defense too is obviously incredibly hot too. They forced fumbles and an interception to really just seal this game off and give Iowa State no chance. But on the Iowa State side, Rocco Becht really didn't look that bad. Like, he played an okay game. He was 21 for 35, 214 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. But he really didn't look bad. Like, he hasn't looked bad all year, but they just couldn't keep up with that Arizona State offense this past week. And he was just under pressure all game, which led to those fumbles and interception and all that. But he was rushing too. Sam Levitt, Rocco Becht. He had a few rushes in there also. So really their team didn't look bad. Their stud wide receiver, one of them, Jaden Higgins, he performed. He showed up, 7 for 115. Carson Hansen, their running back, didn't really do a whole lot just because Arizona State's defense was smothering. He was only 10 for 52. But
I mean, they couldn't really run the ball because they got down at one point by 21 points. 21 it was 31 to 10. Oh, wait, and then it was 38 to 10. And then it was 45 to 10. So
yeah, they were getting killed. But so this ASU team is incredibly hot, and it's just an awesome story, and that win earned them the number 4 spot in the college football playoff. So they'll end up playing the winner of Clemson, Texas, whenever that comes around.
Yeah, it's an awesome story. I love Kenny Dillingham, everything that he's done with this team at 34 years old, I want to say.
Yeah, I think 34.
34 years old. He's got fire unlike anybody else, because I feel like a lot of football coaches are kind of old now.
Yeah.
But like, he's got fire, and you just listen to Cam Scadaboo. He's got that dog in him too, because he in press conferences he's like, whatever NFL team gets me is gonna get a fighter, is gonna get a dog.
Yeah.
Like I don't care where I'm drafted. So it's like they know they're gonna get a gem. That was his quote. And on the season, he is in rushing grade according to PFF in all of the FBS, out of all the running backs, he's number 3. Of course, Gentry's number 1.
Of course. Yeah.
But he's number 3, and in terms of yards after contact, he's number 3 again. And missed tackles forced, he's also number 3. So in the nation, this guy is number 3 across the board, putting on a clinic. Obviously, it's kind of overshadowed by Ashton Jeanty, but that guy's a freak.
Yeah, that specific conference championship game, all the announcers were locked on that game, which is what you always talk about and you love. And it was clear to see this game, his contact balance this game. He was breaking tackles like no other. Like, he was breaking tackles like Derrick Henry sheds tackles. That's what he looked like out there. He looked like a man among boys, just shaking people off. He had a great game. He had an incredible game. It was awesome. It'll be interesting to see what they do in the playoff.
In this game, he had 11 missed tackles forced. So
yeah, it looked like people were just falling off of him.
Yeah,
they couldn't tackle.
He's built like a meatball.
He is.
But he's good. This guy, he's a fighter.
We're gonna move on to the SEC championship. Georgia taking on Texas. Georgia battled it out in OT and won 22-19. And this was low scoring affair, obviously, but Texas was trying to come into the SEC and play a heartbreaker their first year in the SEC, and just didn't work so well. It was just a big defensive battle. Getting into the game, it was just, field goals, a few touchdowns here and there, and then Carson Beck playing pretty decent, and then he gets hurt, I think, last play of the half. Doesn't come back. So their young gun, I don't know if he's a rookie or not. I think he is, or not rookie, freshman. But he's a young guy anyways.
Sophomore.
Okay, Gunnar Stockton. He comes in.
From Tiger, Georgia.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, so awesome. But he comes in to the second half and plays. And honestly, he's like the hero of Georgia right now. He came in and finished that game incredibly well. Took a shot that looked like should have taken his head off. It looked like it took his head off, but it was just his helmet. But I don't know how he got up from that shot. So he's obviously an incredibly tough kid. But yeah, Georgia comes in and just kind of they're an incredible team, so I don't want to say they played spoiler because they're an awesome team. Right. But Texas has definitely had a little more momentum coming into this game with their quarterback Quinn Ewers, but Quinn Ewers he ended up with throwing for a lot of yards because that's about all that they could do against this Georgia defense. Quinn Ewers ended up 27 for 46, 358 yards and a touchdown, but what killed him was he threw two picks. Two picks were forced by Georgia, so that really put a damper on things. But when Quinn Ewers was dealing, he was dealing. Matthew Golden, 8 for 162. DeAndre Moore Jr., 9 for 114 and a touchdown. So he was throwing it all over the yard like he has all year. He's an incredible quarterback. But their rush game, he had to throw it because their rush game couldn't really do much. Their head back, Wisner, was 19 for 51. So that's not a great average per carry. And the Georgia defense just bowed up when they had to and made the important picks and stops and all that whenever they really needed it. And one big thing on the Georgia side that really helped them get over the hump this game, Trevor Etienne was back. Yeah. So he made a big difference in this game, especially getting that touchdown near the end. But he ended up 16 for 94, 2 touchdowns. So he did great and made a definite clear difference. I don't know if Georgia could have pulled it out without Trevor Etienne being back. But that's between Georgia's defense and Georgia's O-line. Like, Georgia's O-line wasn't great all game, but whenever they went to overtime, that's when their O-line really bowed up and they really shined to help Gunnar Stockton get down the field and win them the game. And this overtime ended up a much shorter, which I'm sure Georgia's happy about, compared to their last game where Georgia played Georgia Tech and they went to 8 overtimes. So I can't imagine the roughness of that and how tired those boys were. But Georgia battled it out. They out-toughed Texas is what it felt like, and it won them the game in the end. And now Georgia is going into the playoff ranked number 2. But Texas still got in also, which we'll talk about, which they're very deserving, obviously. But they're the 9 seed going in, and they'll be playing Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm excited, dude. That we keep talking college football, and we're kind of spending more time on it this week because college football playoff starts next weekend, not this weekend. We got a little break from college football this weekend. Yep. Teams are getting ready for those playoff matchups, but I feel bad. Like I hear a lot of people like dogging on Quinn Ewers. He did throw 2 bad picks in this game.
He did. They were bad, but
like 2 years ago, this guy in his backfield, he had Roshan Johnson and Bijan Robinson. They went to the NFL. Yeah, last year, he had Jonathan Brooks. He had Xavier Worthy as receiver. He had Adonai Mitchell as a receiver.
Studs.
They all went to the NFL.
Yep.
Quinn Ewers stays.
Yep.
And now he's got like he's playing with different playmakers every single year, and this Texas team is still
incredible.
Awesome. Yeah. Yep. Sark is doing something right there.
Absolutely.
And Texas, even though they lost this game, they're no slouches. Yeah.
No, I don't know if people are calling for Arch or if they were in that game, but they definitely should not be.
No,
Quinn Ewers is a very formidable quarterback and definitely has the legs to carry this team to a championship. Honestly, like he could do the whole thing.
And in this playoff, 12-team playoff that we have never seen, nobody's ever experienced it. I mean, at least Quinn Ewers has the experience from last year going to the playoff. To just kind of. He has that veteran presence that I feel like people don't realize is such a big thing. I mean, we see the quarterbacks, the rookie quarterbacks in the NFL who are playing the best. They're the guys who played the most in college. Like Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, these guys started a ton of games, like 6 years in college. And, like, it works.
It works. Yeah. It helps.
All right, we'll talk about the ACC championship. SMU and Clemson.
Yes.
Clemson got him this time. It was 34 to 31. It was a great game. A great game. We'll go through the stats first. Cade Klubnik, he threw 4 touchdown passes, 24 of 41, 262 yards. Really struggled in the running game, Clemson did in this game. After Phil Maffa, he's got to be playing hurt because he hasn't had a 100-yard rushing game in like a month. But they got it working through the air. Bryant Wesco had 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. Antonio Williams had 50 yards as well. But SMU, they held right there. Obviously, they scored 31 points. Kevin Jennings, their sophomore quarterback, he went 31 of 50, 304 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Brashard Smith he's quietly been one of the best running backs in all of the NCAA this year. 24 carries, 113 yards, no touchdowns though. Roderick Daniels, their top receiver all season. 8 catches, 97 yards, 1 touchdown. And then their tight end, Matthew Hibner, he also had a great game himself, 69 yards and a touchdown. Let's talk about some takeaways because both these teams made it to the college football playoff. Clemson is the 12 seed. And SMU will 11. Be playing. 11. They'll be playing Penn State. In Penn State next weekend.
Yep.
We'll talk about the winners here first because people are probably, especially Clemson fans, they're going to maybe throw a little hissy fit because Clemson is ranked below SMU even though they just beat them. Let me just say, there's something about this Clemson team. It just gives me the ick. I don't know. And
me too.
I guess this college football playoff committee kind of agrees with us. I mean, making them the 12 seed in the dance here, below SMU. Maybe it's quarterback Cade Klubnik, who, first of all, with a name like Klubnik, it does not sound like he should be good at football.
No, definitely not.
But Klubnik plays very similarly to Kevin Jennings of SMU. Wild, almost out of control, easily forced out of the pocket. Maybe it's the pass catchers, though, on this Clemson team that give me the ick, who have caused Klubnik to have the 8th most dropped passes in all of the FBS.
Yikes.
Maybe it's Phil Maffa, the running back, who hasn't rushed for 100 yards in a game since November 9th. And who only has 34 missed tackles forced on the season, which is ranked 66th in the nation, who Phil Maffa is supposed to be like a big-name running back.
Supposed to be.
I mean, maybe it's the defense that is supposed to be loaded with quote-unquote big-name players, but is underwhelmed. SMU has 4 players along their D-line with at least 30 pressures this season. Clemson has 1. His name is Edge T.J. Parker.
Yeah.
Linebacker Barrett Carter was ranked as a top 50 player in the 2025 draft class before this season. He's now ranked 87th. Their safety, R.J. Mickens, was ranked in the top 200 in the 2025 draft class before the season. He's now ranked 435th.
Oof.
Just everything about this team feels overrated to me. It feels like they should be better with the big names and the talent on paper that they have, but they almost lost to this SMU team. Now, let me talk about SMU because they deserve a lot of credit for what they've done this season. I mean, nobody thought SMU was going to be good. I mean, SMU is like, I honestly forgot they were in the ACC before this year.
Yeah,
and then
seriously.
they come out and they put up an 11-2 season under a sophomore quarterback. But SMU, Clemson may have some bigger names and more well-known players on defense, but SMU's defense is just better. As I just said, SMU has 4 players with they had 4 players with at least 3 pressures in this game, 4 players with 30 pressures on the season. Edge Elijah Roberts is the pressures leader in all of the FBS with 64 pressures, and he even missed 1 game. He averages 5.3 quarterback pressures per game. That is crazy.
Wow.
That is crazy. And he's not some smaller, fast, lean edge rusher like today's NFL.
Yep.
Elijah Roberts is listed at 6'4", 280 pounds.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah. And can you imagine that guy coming after you like 5 times a game?
For example, TJ Watt's probably 262, 250 max?
250 max, yeah. This guy has got 30 pounds on him.
And probably a couple inches on him.
Yeah. And he's pressuring you 5 times a game and probably hitting you.
Probably, at least after the play, yeah.
And SMU, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, man, that's what a dog.
And SMU has the number 10 and number 12 ranked safeties in the nation this season, according to PFF. Isaiah, I'm just going to slaughter his name, Nwokobia.
Sure.
And Ahmad Moses. SMU also has the number 16 ranked defensive tackle in the nation this season, according to PFF. His name is Jared Harrison Hunt. He's number 2 in the nation this season in quarterback pressures among defensive tackles with 42. And on the offense, a sophomore quarterback, Kevin Jennings, can be flustered when he thinks he feels pressure, so he leaves the pocket fairly easily. As I said, plays a lot like Cade Klubnik. They played very similarly in this game. But he's proven to be very good at improvising, throwing on the run, and at different arm angles. He had some very impressive throws in this game. Now, Klubnik did too, but Kevin Jennings, it just impressed me with, this SMU team wasn't supposed to be good, and now they're great.
They're great.
I mean, Jennings spreads the ball around too. There were 7 players on this SMU team this season with at least 300 receiving yards, but not one player over 600 receiving yards.
Spreading it around.
And as I said, running back Brashard Smith is ranked as the number 6th running back in the nation this season, according to PFF. And SMU, while they looked stale in the first half of this game, SMU is not going to be a tough out in this college football playoff. Mark my words. And they play Penn State in Penn State. That's a bonus for Penn State that they get to be home.
Yeah, for sure.
On December 22nd next weekend. But I am excited for this game.
Me too.
There's no easy outs in the college football playoff. At least we're hoping. I want to see some good games.
I do too. Which, I mean, we can talk about the rest of that playoff right now, just who's in, who's out, and
go ahead.
who's not. But we'll just start with that SMU. SMU lost, but I'm so happy they're still in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They are way deserving of it. And if they would have pulled out the win against Clemson, Clemson would not have been anywhere close.
No.
To getting in the
no,
playoff.
they would have been gone.
Their only reason they're in there is because they won that game.
And they have to be. Yeah, they won the AC. They won technically won the conference, so they have to be in.
Yep, and that's the only reason they have any business being in there.
I
Otherwise,
would put
no one.
South Carolina.
Yeah,
South Carolina should be in there above them.
Yep, I agree. They don't, but they won. So I mean, rules are rules, and
rules are rules.
And we'll see what happens. But I don't know if they fare well against Texas in that first round. But then I don't think we mentioned. So yeah, SMU will play Penn State.
Yes. That is Penn State 6, SMU 11.
Yes. I guess it's you. Well, we aren't done talking. I was going to say, let's talk about that Penn State-Oregon game.
Absolutely.
Before we talk about the rest of how the playoffs are going to fare and how they're going to work out. And, yeah, we'll just swing through those after we talk about Penn State-Oregon game and what happened there.
In the Lad House. It was in the Lad House. Yeah, I know quite a few people who went to this game.
Really?
I wish I could have.
Yeah, it would have been awesome.
Tickets were pretty cheap, too. I was hearing they were like $75, which for a conference championship game of...
That's cheap.
My favorite team, the Oregon Ducks, against like everybody around here loves Penn State. Obviously. We're in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Great game though. Oregon pulled it out in the end, 45-37. Penn State put up quite a fight, and I'm not going to take anything away from them.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess we'll dive into it because I got a little rant to go on about Penn State. We'll talk about Oregon first because I feel like there was. I know this game is close, but I feel like there was definitely just a difference because Oregon, in my opinion, better coach, better play calls, better quarterback. I mean,
true. Yeah,
that was clear as day in this game. Oregon plays smarter. They don't turn the ball over. They're more confident in what their coach is preaching. Now, some people may point to the refs when talking about this game, which that was part of it. I think that. Let me just say, I think that every call that was made for Oregon was correct. I mean, there were 2 or 3 face mask penalties and 1 or 2 unnecessary roughness penalties called for Oregon like early in the game. Because I mean, it's just like it was undisciplined. Like Penn State guys are just punching Oregon dudes in the heads. Like, one thing, you got helmets on.
Yeah.
Like, you can't yank face masks, obviously. They were all clear and they were correct, but I do feel like there were definitely some missed calls for Penn State as the game went on. A few possible holding calls on Abdul Carter that the commentators kept talking about.
That one was pretty bad.
Yeah, that one was pretty bad.
I could see that one, yeah.
Maybe a defensive pass interference or 2 against Oregon that should have been called, and maybe some late. There was I remember one play. There was some late shoving by Oregon players that could have turned into personal fouls, like after the whistle. Yeah. And I was like gritting my teeth, and I was like,
I remember
that probably should have been called.
That one should have been called.
That one should have been called. But I mean, I don't think those determined the game.
They aren't game-making calls.
No, yeah. Now I know Oregon only won by 1 score, so maybe some people think that those did play into it. But this Penn State defense that we all knew was very good could not stop Oregon offense all night long.
At least not at first.
Let me just say, these Oregon Ducks are so fucking fast. They're
so fast.
Like the speed difference was crazy. The first drive you could see it. It's like, holy shit.
Yep.
Like, I mean, that's kind of what Oregon's always talked about. It's like, these dudes are fast.
Yep.
That's
it's
it.
like, Tez Johnson's just magically not near anybody.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just because he's so fast.
He wasn't by anybody all game long. Nobody could even touch him.
Nope.
Yeah, it was crazy. Jordan James and Noah Whittington, the running backs of Oregon, are nothing like the big bruising running backs that Penn State or basically any other Big Ten team has.
Right, yeah.
That was the question for everybody coming into this game was like, basically coming into the season was, can Oregon put up with the power and the muscle that the Big Ten has always been known for?
Yep.
Well, obviously, I mean, they don't really need it. These guys are small, shifty, quick. Not a single defender for Penn State could even get close to Tez Johnson before or after the catch.
Yeah.
11 catches, 181 receiving yards, 1 touchdown. 121 of those 181 receiving yards came after the catch. The dude is 165 pounds. He forced 5 missed tackles. Nobody could tackle him. Nobody could cover him. These tight ends, Terrence Ferguson and Kenyon Sadiq. Kenyon Sadiq had 2 touchdowns early in this game. They combined for 3 receiving touchdowns total because they can basically move like wide receivers.
Seriously.
Dylan Gabriel, he quickly goes through his reads, makes a decision, throws bullets with one of the quickest windups in college football right now. I haven't done any official film watching or scouting for this 2025 draft class yet, but I have a feeling that I might like Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some flaws in his game, but I like any. If you got a quick windup and you can throw bullets, that's like going to catch my eye. Yeah. And he can do that.
That certainly does catch your eye when you're watching him. Like, he's not obviously the
flashiest, best quarterback that might be because of his size or whatnot, but he can throw darts.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And this offense does help a lot. They spread everything out. I mean, obviously, Tez Johnson. There's nobody around him at all. Yeah. And they didn't even need any catches from their wide receiver, Evan Stewart, who is another skinny and fast wide receiver who is projected to be a third rounder in this year's draft if he declares for the draft. Mm-hmm. Now, is the defense a problem when you compare it to the powerhouse that the offense is? Absolutely. Yes, this could really turn out to be a problem. The Ducks' offense is going to put up points. Mm-hmm. This puts other teams in constant catch-up mode. So these opposing offenses play aggressive. They look for big plays, and they try to chunk up this Oregon defense. But I think that they're just good enough and make just enough plays to keep this team victorious, as they're obviously 13-0 now.
Yeah.
And I think they can make a deep playoff run. I mean, that's not shattering any backboards saying that. But let's talk about Penn State because they did put up one hell of a fight.
Certainly did.
But sorry, it's going to get dark for James Franklin because I have some questions for him. This is what I literally looked up. Googled when writing up my recap for this game. What does head coach James Franklin actually do for Penn State?
Fair question.
Yeah, I mean, you ask most Penn State fans right now, and I bet they would tell you that it feels like he does nothing. I mean, Franklin. So I did some searching here. Franklin is an offensive head coach with coaching experience on the offensive side of the ball in Division I football dating back to 1997. He's been wide receiver coaches. He's been quarterback coaches, tight end coaches, all that stuff. But he's not he's not renowned as an offensive wizard with a brilliant scheme to always create offense no matter who's out there. He doesn't bring a culture to the team. Like, you almost never hear anything about James Franklin, like motivational like locker room speeches. He almost never says anything, which is like good. He's like a very even keel guy.
Yeah.
Keeps his cool, but he like doesn't get fired up. Maybe Penn State fans would say in big games he falters, which like James Franklin is now 3-19 against top 10 opponents in his career.
Yeah.
But much like how a lot of Ohio State fans want Ryan Day fired, I'm sure a lot of Penn State fans now want James Franklin fired. I mean, we'll see how the rest of the playoff plays out because Penn State is still a very, very good team. But watching this game, there were so many, in my opinion, why the hell did he do that moments for James Franklin, and I'll break him down here. There was one play in the second quarter, I believe. Penn State was down by 11. 2nd and 7. Drew Aller passes it to his wide receiver on the left sideline. Toe taps, looks to make the catch, and it's a 3rd and 1, except the officials call it incomplete. Replay shows that it is a catch, but Penn State is trying hurry-up mode to try to catch they've been like running hurry-up mode most of the game to try to catch the Oregon defense on their heels.
They got down by 18 pretty quick.
Yeah,
it was 28-10, so
they had to turn it on.
So hurry-up mode, they snap the ball with 21 seconds left on the play clock, but it's 3rd and 8. But James Franklin doesn't tell his quarterback to slow down so the officials can take another look at it. He doesn't throw the challenge flag. He doesn't do anything. It would have been a 3rd and 1. And on this play, instead of Drew Aller having a 3rd and 1, he throws an incomplete pass on 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. But they lucked out on this play. They got a DPI call to get that first down. Mm-hmm. Later in the game, as the beginning of the 4th quarter, Penn State was down 14 points. They score a touchdown. They elect to go for the 2-point conversion for some reason. I don't really know what they thought they saw, but they try to run the Philly special, so they like a few jet sweeps to get the ball into Tyler Warren's hand, former quarterback.
Yeah.
Crazy guy. Yeah. He's going to be drafted high. To pass it out to Drew Aller in left corner of the end zone, but he wasn't open, and Warren just got tackled. So now you're randomly down by 8, and then Oregon immediately scores the touchdown on the next drive to put Oregon up by 15. So, like, I don't hate going for 2 there, but, like, I don't really understand that point in the game. I mean,
I didn't get it either. That was really confusing.
And then this was honestly the one that, if I were a Penn State fan, this one would have pissed me off the most. Obviously, everybody remembers. It's the last play of the game. Later in the game, maybe the most boneheaded play call and execution of the game for Penn State in the biggest spot. Oregon's up by 15, 7:28 left in the 4th. Penn State relentlessly drives the football down the field for a touchdown on that drive. That included 2 third-down conversions of at least 10 yards away, very impressive, and 1 4th and 10 conversion to cap off the drive with a touchdown. 3:41 left in the game now. Penn State now down by 8 because they just kicked the extra point there.
Yep.
Oregon trying to run out the clock. They go 3 and out after 2 runs for 1 yard combined, and then an incompletion to Evan Stewart's only target of the game.
Yeah, incomplete.
Incomplete. So Oregon punts. Penn State gets the ball at their own 37-yard line, which is pretty great starting field position
for sure,
for a drive to win the game with just over 2 minutes left. I can't remember how many timeouts they had. I think
two.
Two.
I think
Yeah,
I think two.
Yeah. So 1st and 10. Breaking it down here. Nick Singleton runs for 9 yards. Great way to start off the drive.
Yeah.
2nd and 1 now. So then they break for the 2-minute timeout because they can't call it a 2-minute warning because NFL must have rights to that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dumb. But 2nd and 1. Drew Aller drops back to pass, trying to take a shot on 2nd and short, chucks it deep down the right sideline into double coverage, intercepted by Oregon with 1:54 left in the game. Dumb.
Yeah.
For so many reasons.
Yep.
Well, let me tell you why, because I got 3 clear ones that just popped into my head immediately whenever that happened. Number 1, I can understand taking a shot at earlier points in the game. I like taking shots on 2nd and short for the chance of big chunk plays. A lot of times defenses are drawn in for the run because it's like, oh, they got 1 yard to go, they're just going to run it. But try to beat them deep. But on a drive where you're in great position with lots of time left to drive down and score to hopefully tie the game while ideally grinding out the clock and forcing overtime, why are you doing this? If you do tie the game, you don't want Oregon to get the ball back with any time left on the clock. Didn't you not see the whole game how fast they can score? They can score in 10 seconds on you.
Yeah.
And get down the field 50 yards. What are you doing? I understand you want to take shots, but why at this point in the game, you're run that, which brings me to number 2. Your team ran for 297 yards in this game.
Just going to bring up. I mean, why are you taking shots when you got Katron Allen and Singleton running crazy this game?
The team as a whole ran for 8.7 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Run the damn
They
ball.
were running all over Oregon.
Yeah.
All over.
Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, hell, even Drew Aller and his unathletic ass ran the ball against this Oregon defense for big chunk plays all game long.
Yep.
While for the pass game all game long, and basically all season long, Penn State's only reliable pass catcher is the tight end Tyler Warren.
Yep.
And Drew Aller was so inconsistent in this game, as he is basically every game. 51% completion percentage, random boneheaded misses. There was one for a touchdown that I was like, oh my! That if I was a Penn State fan, I would have been screaming at my TV, just airmailed it. It was a pass out to the flat to Tyler Warren.
Wasn't even close.
6'5", just threw it over his head 5 yards.
Yep.
And then another earlier interception in the game before this one that ended it. Oregon could not stop the run, and you had 2 minutes to go, 54 yards to score. You can run, okay?
Yeah.
Just run the damn ball. And then number 3, it is 2nd and 1. It's not 4th and 1. If the receiver is not clearly open, having beaten his man, don't throw it, Drew. Why are you?
I don't know why he started doing that because, you guys hate on him. People hate on him because, he's not the best, but he's okay. But maybe he's not the best. Mm-hmm. But you can't say that he's thrown a lot of picks because all year he is not. He's been pretty good about taking care of the ball.
Yeah.
I don't know if he got happy feet or if the coordinator decided to try to change the game plan for some reason and do something unusual, but he ended up throwing 2 picks this game, and that's not like them.
This play reminded me of you remember the Mitch Trubisky play from last year?
Do I?
Chug-a deep.
Yeah, chug-a deep.
But I mean, it's 2nd and 1. It's not 4th and 1. You don't have
time
to throw it.
Yeah, you got time.
Just throw it out of bounds.
Yeah.
This Oregon cornerback, Nico Reed, was actually running faster than the Penn State wide receiver and was in front of him. He basically ran the route for him.
Yeah.
And the Oregon safety also had come over and was in the vicinity too. Outside of those 3 mistakes, I think the Penn State showed way more fight and kept this way closer than I think most of us, especially me, thought they would. But it's those mistakes all the way up that just separated these 2 teams from me. You can point to the refs, you can point to whatever you want, but whenever you're playing against one of the top schools in the nation, you got to be at your best. And if you make those mistakes, obviously that sealed the deal.
Yeah. No, I'm not a diehard Penn State fan. I'm just from Pennsylvania, and I don't really have any other college to root for. So I'm like, let's root for Penn State. My wife went there, and I know people from there. And I was just blown away that they even brought it back within 8.
Oh, yeah.
Because, they're down 28-10. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I see how this is going. Oregon's a wagon, and here we go. And they brought it back. But, yeah, those mistakes are why Oregon is Tier 1 pretty much by themselves all year. And then Penn State you could probably put in Tier 3-ish.
Yeah.
Probably below Texas, Georgia,
and no doubt, they lost this game, but I feel like that they're
going to make some noise in the playoffs.
Even though they lost, they gave me more confidence in them after this game.
Yep, I agree.
Like that, we've all kind of been questioning Penn State and how good they really are. They basically somebody loses in front of them, so they get to move up.
Yeah, right.
But no, they held their own.
Yeah, they held their own here, and they should be good going into the playoffs. So we'll touch on these playoff matchups real quick. We'll probably talk about them more next episode. Yep. We'll get more into them. But so how the college playoff sits right now. Ohio, obviously the winners. You got Oregon, Arizona State, Boise State, Georgia. Those guys get the first round bye. And then for the games after that, Ohio State's going to be playing Tennessee. Texas is going to be playing Clemson, Penn State, SMU, Notre Dame, and Indiana, which we'll maybe talk about next game, how Indiana got in and that story and all that, just because that's a cool story and they're incredible. But that wraps our college review for this week. So we'll get into the NFL games from this past week 14. So we're going to start it off with Packers-Lions, one of the best games of the year. Back and forth, literally back and forth all game long. They're just throwing hands at each other, more or less. And Lions end up on top, 34-31, in a really, really big win, it felt like, for the division, for the Lions in general. And Lions are now in an 11-game win streak or something like that, which feels incredible to say after what the Lions were years ago. But Jared Goff ended up 32 for 41, 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick, and he only took 1 sack. So he's back to being normal Jared Goff, having an incredible game. Their running game, still good. Montgomery, 14 for 51 in the touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs, 15 for 43. But Jahmyr Gibbs also made some noise in the past game. He had 6 for 30. And so David Montgomery, he had 5 for 33. And Jahmyr Gibbs had a touchdown there too. But big plays by Detroit. Big plays on both sides of the ball, really. I mean, Jameson Williams was 5 for 80. He made some big plays. Laporta made some clutch plays. Tim Patrick had 2 touchdowns.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, they were looking incredible. On the Green Bay side, obviously, Josh Jacobs was standout. He had 3 touchdowns on 18 carries, 66 yards total. Jordan Love played an okay game, clean game, nothing special, but 12 for 20, 206 yards and a touchdown, no picks. So he was most of those yards. Obviously, the other standout to Josh Jacobs was Christian Watson. He just seemingly got open and could catch everything this game and was burning Detroit.
Remembered how to catch.
Yeah, he remembered how to catch and was burning Detroit left and right and center.
Yeah, that 59-yard play was one of the best throws of the season that I've seen by Jordan Love. I'll give him credit there. That one was finally. I hate on Jordan Love a lot because he doesn't put the balls in a bucket. A lot of times it's just receivers got to slow down. That one was put in stride.
Yeah,
that one was a good throw. Very good throw by Jordan Love to Christian Watson there.
Yeah, he had some good throws. And Dontavian Wicks, remember how to catch too? And
magically, I don't know what happened here.
He was 4 for 49, and Tucker Kraft had a touchdown thrown in there, 3 for 41, and they had a sweet kip up thing to get up off the ground, which was incredibly athletic, especially in football pads for a guy that big. Mm-hmm. So that was sweet. But yeah, it was just a back and forth game all game long. It was up by this, up by that. And then, of course, Dan Campbell makes his gutsy 4th down calls that everyone probably hates him for, but live by the sword, die by the sword. We've talked about this.
He was 3 of 4 on 4th down in this game or something like that.
Yeah, I know that the one they failed, though, they were on their own side, and it was 4th and 1, and they weren't even close. But yeah, the gutsy calls, but it ended up paying off for him this game, and it was
They were 4 of 5 on 4th down.
Okay, 4 of 5. Yeah.
Whenever they failed that, who's got the job of nobody's got the job of going up to Dan Campbell and telling him he was wrong.
Yeah, no chance. It's
Coach, you should have punted it there.
Hey Dan, I know I get what you're thinking, but the analytics said. I mean, if I feel like if you mention analytics before you get the word out of your mouth, you're getting in the face.
He's breaking his clipboard over your head.
Yeah, before you get past Anna, and then you're out. But yeah, it was a great game. Packers moved to 9-4, and Detroit Lions are 12-1. Clearly on top in the NFC.
Yeah, they talked about it in the broadcast, but this Detroit Lions team, nobody really talks about it because the offense is the focus. This team puts up points. They put up 50 burgers on bad teams.
Yep.
But the defense is out of guys.
They really are.
They're out of guys. Here was their leading pressure leader in this game. His name is Al-Qadim Muhammad.
Yeah.
He's number 69 out there. They also have guys along the D-line. Trevor Nowaski, Patrick O'Connor, Miles Adams, Ezekiel Turner. Yeah. Jonah Williams had just picked up this week. They were also playing guys that they just picked up this week. Quan Alexander's on this team now. Jamal Adams, David Long Jr., Ben Neiman.
David Long Jr. made a huge play.
He did. He did make a huge play.
Which is awesome, yeah.
These guys all were not on the team 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And now
they just magically mesh.
Aaron Glenn's like, all right, you guys have seen how we like to play around here. We play hard nose, we bite kneecaps, get out there and do it. And
those guys fit the bill.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I mean, I know they let up 31 points in this game, but to not be on the team 4 weeks ago to now you're contributing to a Super Bowl hopeful team.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
Yep. Lions culture right now is they're a juggernaut.
Yes.
Clearly a juggernaut. Yes, no question about it. Next game, Jets, Dolphins. Jets tried their best and probably had the best game they've had in quite a while, at least by the offense. Like
Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, they were looking pretty good, but they end up losing 32-26. So, yeah, Aaron Rodgers, he was dealing this game. I don't know when the last time he's had over 300 yards was, but he ended up 27 for 39, 339 pass yards, and a touchdown. And, yeah, he was absolutely dealing. I mean, sure, only one touchdown, but this is the most they've had offensively in quite some time. Garrett Wilson had an absolute monster day along with Devontae Adams. Garrett Wilson was 7 for 114, and Devontae Adams was 9 for 109, and that touchdown thrown in there.
I think this was the first game that Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers have actually looked like they remembered who they were.
Yep, they looked in sync, truly in sync.
I remember playing with you.
Yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, it finally clicked, and Breece Hall was out this game, so Braylon Allen got a shot. But really, it almost stuck out more that Isaiah Davis almost seemingly made more plays and better plays. But they ended up with a pretty similar stat line. Braylon Allen was 11 for 43 on the ground, and Isaiah Davis was 10 for 40 on the ground, but he had a touchdown thrown in there. So the Jets' offense was just seemingly clicking this game. I mean, they didn't have any fumbles. I don't think they had any turnovers at all, and they were just clicking. But on the other side, Miami was also clicking. Tyreek made some big plays. He's back. I think Tyreek ended up 10 for 115 and a touchdown. So, of course, he was on fire. Jalen Waddle, of course, on fire, 9 for 99.
I wonder if Tyreek got arrested before this game.
He might have. Yeah, that has to have been. Devon Achane, he had an incredible game this week.
Incredible season.
Yeah, incredible season. And 14 for 24 rushing. And he had a touchdown thrown in there. But where he really seemed to shine this game was the dump off, 6 for 45. He had a big day. And Johnny Smith was quiet until overtime. Overtime, he had 3 catches, 44 yards, and a winning touchdown, which is unusual because he's been being used by in crazy amounts.
Yak God.
Yeah, it was actually a better game than most of us expected. Lots of offense because their defense stinks, especially the Jets. The Jets defense is absolutely terrible.
There was no sauce in this game.
Yeah, no sauce either.
It was so dry.
So dry. But yeah, Jets Dolphins, pretty good game overall.
Yeah.
Way better than expected, but of course Jets do as they do, and they ended up losing because that's
this season.
That's the season.
I mean, they are better than what's their record now?
2 and
3. I think 3 and 10. They're not.
Maybe.
They're better than the 3 and 10 team, no doubt. Everybody, including us, has shit on them this season, but they have played slightly better than 3 and 10. I'd say they're like a 5-6.
They're probably a 5. Yeah, they're probably a 5 or 6 win team.
Which I mean, it's not lighting the world on fire, but they've had some unfair losses. I found it. Aaron Rodgers, last time he threw for 300 yards, it was week 13 of 2021, and it was December 12th, 2021, which is almost 3 years ago.
Almost 3 years to the day.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was back whenever he played for the Green Bay Packers. Remember that?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Who? Yeah, that was a pretty good game, honestly.
Yes, it was.
It wasn't too bad. Sent it to overtime, and then I still think they should make the overtime rules the same as playoffs
I
all
don't
season
understand
long.
why they don't.
I would have loved to see Aaron Rodgers. He was dealing that game. I would have loved to see him come back out.
Seriously.
See some magic on the field again
let
with
him
Devontae
match.
Adams.
Yeah.
I still don't agree with that.
I completely agree. I don't know. I mean, I know that I mean, it's all basically it's a given. The NFL is going to continue to expand the season, more football.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Maybe they just don't want to make these games longer than they have to, because I mean,
yeah,
dudes are like getting hurt every single game. It's a dangerous game, as we know. But like, I agree with you. I want to see more. I want to see like better finishes.
Yep.
We shouldn't have a tie as an option. We shouldn't have basically whoever wins the coin toss. If you got a good offense, you win in the game.
Yeah.
Ridiculous, but.
Yep.
Okay, well,
no.
yeah, I know. It's all been shit.
Yeah.
Vikings.
Oh, also,
Skull.
but boy,
Okay, yeah.
I'm glad I jumped off the Jets bandwagon. I was seemingly right.
Yeah.
Although
they finally looked okay.
They finally looked good.
Yeah, but yeah, you did. You jumped off at the right time.
Jumped off, yeah. As far as picking them, but
Exactly.
on to a sadder note.
Yeah, the Vikings skull. By the way, they completely scold them. They scold the
Speaking of Skull, that reminded me, I think a few weeks ago we were doing this for
Skull.
Skull. That is completely not right. That's the Chiefs thing. Remember, Skull is...
That's it, yeah. And they play like that, like really obnoxious horn. Like,
yeah. Viking horn, of course. Yeah, it's really real. Have you seen the guys doing it?
It's huge, too.
Yeah, it's very real. It definitely
know.
makes a real noise.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh. Do you think they have to like their lips like a trumpet?
They look, yeah.
Do you think it's some coaching before they do that? Because it's usually like a celebrity they put on there.
It's definitely real.
How many sets of lips do they put on that thing in the history of that?
All of them.
And how many of those lips are bottom lips?
Well, it depends on if the game's on or not.
That's true. Who knows what
Well,
goes
let's
on?
see. If you do some quick math, there's probably eight games at home.
I don't know when that stadium was built.
10 games at home. That stadium was fairly new.
Okay.
2000. I'm gonna guess 2003 or 4, maybe is when it was built.
Found it. 2016.
Okay, never mind.
Let's make the math easier though.
Yeah, so you got 16.
So 2016 was the first season.
Like 8 years, you got like maybe 8 to 10 games in a year. So
Yeah.
So maybe anywhere from 60 to 80 lips.
Okay. Yeah.
Pretty good.
And that's just on the clock.
That's just on the clock.
Who knows what happens? Like,
Yeah, those
after the
janitors
games.
get wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Depends on who is kissing that horn. They might like want to put their lips on.
Everyone wants to blow the horn.
The Vikings. They it was a solid game up until the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
But then you see how it finished. It was 42-21. Vikings beat the Falcons. Who don't want to talk about first here? You know, we'll start out on a bad note because the Falcons, they are bad. But in all caps I typed this. Somebody please make some changes. Believe me.
Except for Bijan.
Yeah, except for Bijan and Tyler
Darnell
Algier.
Mooney.
Those guys. Yeah, Darnell Mooney. He is somehow the wide receiver 1 on this team. But believe me, after watching this team so closely all year, it hurts to watch them closely. But I know more than anybody that Kirk Cousins is not the only reason that the Falcons have lost 4 in a row. Kirk actually played the first 3 quarters of this game pretty well. He was only sacked once, only threw 1 boneheaded interception, was moving the ball and finding open receivers. Game was tied at 21 heading into the 4th, and then the Vikings scored to make it 28-21, and then Ray McLeod fumbled away the ball on the ensuing kickoff, and then the Vikings quickly made it 35-21, and this forced Kirk to get more aggressive, which has been scary for the Falcons this season, especially lately. But something different has to be done. I mean, if your quarterback has thrown for 0 touchdowns and 8 picks over this 4-game losing streak,
Yikes!
I think a change there would maybe be a good
benefit.
place to start.
It could benefit.
You can point to like all the good plays that Kirk has made, okay, but like you got to think like, do they outweigh the bad? Like if you're turning over the ball 8 times, and he's mixed in 4 fumbles in there too. I just make a change. I mean, if the defense can't stop anybody like this Falcons defense you need a quarterback who is able to beat the opposing defense in multiple ways. The defense basically knows that you're going to have to throw a lot, so they're going to send pressure at Kirk. You need a quarterback, though, who can maneuver the pocket, get out of there if need be, take what's there, which is not Kirk Cousins in age 36 season coming off Achilles injury.
Yep.
But you need somebody like Patrick Mahomes.
Mahomes?
I mean, obviously, Pat Mahomes hasn't been the best at throwing the ball this season, but he does really, really know when to escape the pocket and run for free yards. He does it every single game, and it is so aggravating.
Yep.
But your quarterback also needs to understand that he's going to have to throw on the run. He's going to have to probably take some hits, but still throw the best passes that he can and not be fazed by pressure. So Kirk does not like getting hit. No old quarterback likes getting hit. I've talked about this. This is old news. But, like, he doesn't even throw on the run. He doesn't move out of the pocket. He barely even moves in the pocket. Like, oncoming rushers come, he basically just, like, cowers, turtles, sack. I don't have any numbers or stats on this, but I'm going off of feel when I say this.
Sure.
When a struggling starting quarterback is benched for his backup, I would say that backup quarterback is able to provide a spark for the offense like 80 to 85% of the time. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
At least for one game.
That's what I was going to say. Even if it's just for one game, then you bench his ass and put the starter back in there. I mean, this team needs to win now.
Yeah.
So why are you not trying anything and everything to get back in the win column? You've lost 4 in a row. Buccaneers now have the NFC South division lead at 7-6. And Michael Penix was never thought of as a project quarterback like Drake May or J.J. McCarthy. So throw him in there. He can at least move and not be a statue in the pocket, because when Kirk is pressured or isn't pressured in the pocket, he can just stand there to make those throws, and he's still got it. But when does that ever happen in the NFL? I mean, if he has to drift one way or another because of incoming rushers, it looks like his whole life is flashing before his eyes. Again, I know this isn't all Kirk's fault, but something has to change. This team needs a spark. Right now, it's like trying to light a lighter in a wind-whistling blizzard. Like, you like putting your hand up to like try to stop it, but like the wind is
no chance.
snow. There's no chance of lighting that lighter. Your cigarette, you're just getting
You're just
soggy
gonna have
in your
to
lips.
eat your dart. That's all you can do.
You have to eat it. Get that tobacco rush there. Your thumb is just getting hot and it's starting to hurt. So you know that potential heat, it's in there.
It's in there.
It's in
you
there.
got the spark.
But there's just too much working against it right now.
Yep.
For the Vikings, I mean, weapons. Sam Darnold is playing with unlimited confidence right now.
Unlimited.
And it's fun to see, man. I mean, here's his stats and his team stats in this game because they were nice.
Dealing.
They were nice. 23 of 30. Hang on. Wrong stats. That was Kirk. Kirk did throw for 344, but
he was dealing.
2 picks.
Yeah, just couldn't finish.
No. Oh, man. Damn. His wife. I mean, he's already got 2 kids. Doesn't really have to. He might have. For this season, I don't think it's the Achilles that's bothering him. He might have got a vasectomy.
Oh, we might have.
Yeah. Crack the code. The dude can't finish. But Sam Darnold, 22, he can't finish.
Oh, boy.
22 of 28, 347 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He was actually sacked 4 times. In the past 2 weeks, the Falcons have 9 sacks, which is crazy.
That is insane.
But Sam Darnold didn't care.
Yeah.
He still threw for 5 touchdowns. Aaron Jones had a nice game. It was a good bounce-back game after he fumbled like crazy last game. 13 carries, 73 yards, and 1 touchdown. It was good to see him get in there. But his receivers, I mean, Jordan Addison, 8 catches, 133 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Those
Justin
catches
Jefferson,
were not easy catches
were not
for
easy.
Jordan Addison. He made some incredible catches.
He's 170, 175 pounds, and he's maybe one of the best contested catch receivers in the league.
Yeah, his body control in the air.
I don't know how he does it.
Next level.
He makes himself heavy in the air somehow.
Yeah. But his other receiver in there who's been coming
Justin
on.
Jefferson, 7 catches, 132 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He hasn't had a touchdown in a long time.
Since Halloween.
Yeah,
I think so.
I feel that on my fantasy team.
Yeah.
TJ Hawkinson, he also had a nice game, 4 catches for 45 yards, still coming off that injury. This team, though, I mean, I feel like I don't know why I was always like kind of weary of them. Sam Darnold still kind of scares me. He was throwing bombs and lasers all over the field in this one, though. He had an average depth of target of 12.2 yards in this game, which is crazy. That's like Anthony Richardson level stuff.
Yeah.
4 big-time throws, 0 turnover-worthy plays. There were a few throws that kind of hung in the air longer, and the receivers had to come back for, like Jordan Love-type throws. So I wasn't super impressed by his accuracy per se, but he just has confidence, man. It is fun to watch him sling it. But against a better, more sound defense, I might hope he's a little bit more cautious because there were some balls that hung in the air.
Oh, for sure.
But he took advantage of it here, no doubt. All the props to Sam Darnold. He put on a clinic.
He did. He was absolutely dealing. Next game we'll touch on here is the Philadelphia Eagles when they welcomed the Carolina Panthers into the link. And the Philly Eagles ended up squeaking out a win. And it really did feel like squeaking out a win. I mean, Carolina Panthers are another team right now that they're 3-10. They're not a 3-10 team anymore. Not at all. They were a Xavier Legette catch away from getting the ball. Well, actually, it probably would have been a touchdown. He might not have been touched, but either way, the ball would have been at the 1-yard line, and he just bobbled it because it was an incredible attempt.
Oh, I've got to say, because this was a terrible week for my guys as our Draft Brothers industry. I mean, Xavier Legette dropped possibly the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah,
Bucky Irving
tough.
got hurt and didn't play all game, and Rashad White went out there and performed, and Lad McConkey didn't even play.
Yeah.
Carson's my guy, so It wasn't
Tough
good
week.
this week.
Well, I thought Xavier Leggett wasn't even going to come back. He took an absolute shot in this game. He got leveled, and so I don't know how he even came back
He
to
was
the
seeing
game.
3 balls.
Yeah, pretty much. But they didn't even really need him because they still have old grizzled vet Adam Thielen catching everything. Somehow he has new life breathed into him with Bryce Young, and Bryce Young still continues to look really good. He's incredibly mobile. Like, he's showing off that part of his game, especially this game.
Maneuvering the pocket is crazy.
He ended up rushing for 7 for 29, but just his maneuverability in the pocket is just, it's coming on, and it's awesome to see because that's part of his game that he was really known for, was just how he could maneuver and keep his eyes downfield and make decisions and all the good stuff. And like I said, they were just that one catch away at the end that would have more like a really good chance they would have gotten to the end zone because Chuba was having a good game. Chuba Hubbard, 26 for 92 and a touchdown thrown in there. But Philadelphia Eagles just know how to win. Jalen Hurts didn't have an incredible game by any means.
He was outplayed.
Yeah, he was definitely outplayed. Where he really shined and made the big plays. Fly. Get out of here.
It's December. How do we have
Flies
I know.
alive up here?
Yeah. But Jalen Hurts, he really made his presence known in the rush game. He was 8 for 59 in a touchdown, and he looked really good doing that. But as far as the pass game and the whole Philadelphia Eagles pass game, they are not good.
No.
Not good at all. I think I saw someone say it on one of the shows that they're elementary. That's how they described it. And it might have been Dan Orlovsky, but
Dan-O.
yeah, good old Dan-O. And it's hard to not think that because you got studs. And, they make really good catches every now and then. But, I don't know what the issue is in the Eagles'
I'm going to
pass
say
game.
it. Jalen Hurts isn't a good passer.
It's not looking that way.
No.
At all.
I mean, he hasn't been good at passing the ball since 2 years ago whenever you had Shane Steichen as his offensive coordinator. I know that doesn't make you a better passer, but I think he was able to hide some stuff, I think, because it wasn't good.
No, you should be able to pass against this team. At least more than 108 yards.
Yeah, because, the defense still is not good, but they showed up in this game.
They did. But I guess you don't really need to pass much when you have Saquon Barkley still. 20 for 124 yards. No touchdowns this game, which is unusual, but still, he sucked. He's still Saquon Barkley.
Mm-hmm.
But, Carolina played a really good game.
Oh, yeah.
They really did. They played an incredible game. They deserved to win this game, but just couldn't make the key plays down the stretch. But that'll come.
Yeah.
That'll come with time because this Philadelphia Eagles defense is still one of the best in the league.
Yes.
No question about it. Along with Philadelphia's offensive line, Jalen Hurts seemed to have a lot of time and didn't really do much with it. No. But the Eagles defense is still an absolute problem, and they give everyone issues. So no wonder that Carolina had problems. But Carolina's looking good, and I feel better about Carolina coming out of this than I do the Eagles.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, Carolina's they're obviously not gonna make the playoffs. They're 3-10, but they're gonna play
Spoiler over these last 4 games and
probably knock some teams out of the playoffs. And Bryce Young played amazing under pressure in this game. There were, let's see here, there were 7 dudes on the Philadelphia Eagles team with at least 2 pressures. They were pressuring him like crazy in this game, and Bryce Young was just getting out of the pocket, maneuvering the pocket, and just throwing some incredible throws on the run.
Yeah, he looked comfortable.
Out of structure. He
looked comfortable.
He's fun to watch now, man.
He
fun
is.
to watch.
So we'll move on to a game that was not fun at all to watch. The Saints-Giants.
Oh, yeah.
We thought it was going to be gross, and it lived up to our thoughts.
Yeah.
It was gross.
Yeah.
Saints beat them 14-11 at New York. Drew Lock was playing this game, and Derek Carr, who ended up getting hurt.
Yeah, damn.
Oh, yeah, sad for Derek Carr, but I think he's out for season.
Yeah.
Hand injury.
Yeah.
On the other side, Drew Lock,
Carried by Malik Neighbors.
Yeah, carried by Malik
see that
Neighbors.
catch?
Yes.
Popped up in the air. Incredible
Luck.
luck,
Yeah.
concentration to
Yeah.
go up and get that.
Yeah, Malik Neighbors is still a dude, and that's about the only thing you can take away from the New York side.
The best wide receiver 1 coming out of this draft class easily, and that shouldn't be close. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr., his LSU buddy's putting up a good fight, but it's not Marvin Harrison Jr. putting up a fight.
Not at all.
No.
But, Malik Neighbors is trying to make the best of it, and New York really tried to win, but what did I put in my notes? Well, I said they continue to lose in hilarious fashion because they do. Yeah, so the game was obviously boring pretty much the whole way through. Nothing big happened. Alvin Kamara had some pretty decent runs and some electric from that side. Kendra Miller had a touchdown.
I don't know how he's still on the team.
I don't know.
Well, I guess
These coaches hate him. He can't stay healthy.
Yeah, and MVS, of course, had a few. He didn't have any breakaways this week. We did not get MVS'd. He was only 4 for 51. Jawan Johnson had another touchdown. He was 4 for 50. He's been having pretty good weeks here for the Saints. But man, it was just kind of gross. Malik Neighbors was 5 for 79, and that was about where the goodness stopped for the Giants. Tyron Tracy Jr. had a touchdown, but he was only 16 for 45.
Yeah.
So pretty inefficient.
Drew Lock was their leading rusher with 59 yards.
Yeah, which he honestly looked pretty good.
He was moving.
Yeah, he was
moving.
He looked pretty nice, but the Giants were looking pretty good on that final drive to get close to make a field goal. They got really close. Like, all right, cool. But
There's always a but with the
there's
Giants.
always a but with the Giants.
At MetLife, come on.
Yeah. Of course, they get their possible game-tying field goal blocked by an absolute dog that needs highlighted because he's been a dog for a while now.
Shout him out.
Brian Brzee. That's how you say it. Yeah, Brian Brzee. He should not be able to move like that. He jumped over the line and blocked that field goal himself. He somehow jumped and still kept his hands in the air and blocked the field goal, and that's what sent it. But Brian Brzee was making plays all game long, and
He's listed at 6'5", 305.
He's massive.
Yeah.
He is absolutely massive, and he made his presence known, and that's how the Giants were forced to lose. But yeah, he deserves a shout out because he's been making plays for a long time, and just kind of gets overshadowed because the Saints stink. But
we had a UDFA side.
Dallin Holker
yeah,
got a catch.
yeah,
in
he
this
did.
game.
Yeah.
Crazy, man. They're going through it. Their leading receivers were Foster Moreau, MVS, and Jawan Johnson.
Yeah.
That should tell you everything you need to know.
And now from here on out, what is probably the Rattler?
Yeah.
Quarterback, probably. Although Hayner came in.
Hayner came in, yeah. I think they've maybe seen enough of Rattler the beginning of the season. Maybe they give him another shot because
I don't know.
Who knows? But
I'd say put Hayner in there and let it ride.
Saints defense put on a clinic in this game, especially rushing Drew
Yeah.
Lock.
Oh, yeah.
Chase Young, remember that guy?
Oh,
he
yeah.
had 12 pressures in this game. Yeah. And then that's not to overshadow Carl Granderson had 8. Cam Jordan had 5. Yeah, this team was that's why Drew Lock was running, and he was good at running the ball, but Giants
just did what they did best this game, and that is lose.
Yeah, they really do embody just the spirit of MetLife as a team.
They really do.
They do a good job with that.
Yeah.
Well, here's another. Anything else in that game?
No, I was just gonna say let's just keep rolling through gross games.
Let's get some terrible games out of the way. Jaguars went into Tennessee in Nashville and they won 10-6. I can't even say that they stomped them or anything. It was bad all around. We didn't have a touchdown until the fourth quarter. Thank you, Tank Bigsby. That was a good run.
It was a good run. It was a great run.
Yeah. Stiff-armed a dude. He's still leading the league in yards after contact per attempt. Former my guy for me, just going to say that. But Tank is looking good. That's about it. Tank and BTJ on the Jaguars are looking good.
Yeah.
Let's just say this wasn't good defense in this game. It was just bad offense. We saw 16 points total scored. We're talking about offenses led by Mac Jones and Will Levis here, which it's definitely comical, but not good for analysis. So this one's going to be short. Tank Bigsby, take away for the Jaguars. Tank Bigsby is the man in this backfield now. He wasn't great putting up he wasn't great yards per carry. We're talking.
Yeah.
But he got 18 carries compared to Trevor Etienne. Travis Etienne's 4. Travis Etienne is basically a receiving back now.
Yeah.
I mean, he was great in the pass game, no doubt. 4 catches, 50 yards through the air. He only rushed 4 carries for 20 yards on the ground. Tank went 18 for 55 and a great touchdown on the ground. And outside of Travis Etienne through the air, it was Evan Ingram on some checkdowns and Brian Thomas Jr., 12 targets, 8 catches, 86 yards. This guy's quarterback proof.
Absolutely.
He's seen it all. And by seeing it all, I'm talking about fat, Roblox-looking Mac Jones.
Yeah.
He looks so wide out there.
He's like thick.
He's square. He's a square
at
the quarterback position. But Brian Thomas Jr. is the real deal.
He is.
He's basically like Ladd McConkey on the Chargers.
Pretty much.
He is the lone shining bright spot surrounded by fecal matter.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's basically all. Titans, we'll talk. I'm not going to touch too much on the bad because we know these teams are bad, so I could talk all game about the bad. So we'll touch on the good. Hell of a season for Tony Pollard.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's been quietly because he's on a bad Titans team. But in this game, 21 carries, 102 yards, no touchdowns, but he did add 2 catches and 22 yards through the air. But on the season, 937 rush yards, 4.4 yards per carry behind a bad offensive line with very little threat of a passing attack to spread out the defense. It's like basically you know that Tony Pollard's going to carry it, and you still can't really stop it. But this is possibly the biggest takeaway from this game. Nick Westbrook-Akine dropped a touchdown catch. It was in his hands. It was in his hands, yeah. Because, I mean, it was a pretty bad, not the best throw by Will Levis. He kind of had to throw it behind him, but he jumped up. The corner didn't even jump. He didn't have eyes on the ball. He just jumped up, and he kind of reached back like this, and it was in his hands, and then he just dropped it.
Yep.
We could have had, like, what was that? It would have been, like, 9 games in a row with a touchdown.
Yeah, I think,
in his hands.
Because he did have 8 touchdowns in 8 games, I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It hurt, man. In his hands. It was sad to see, but that's all we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
That's really it. Bad game. 1 touchdown total. Neither one of these teams are going anywhere. Trevor Lawrence is done for the season, if we didn't mention that last episode.
Yeah.
And Will Levis, I don't even know if he gets a shot next year. They might draft somebody. They're 3-10 right now. Bad.
Bad.
Yep.
Next game we'll touch on. The Raiders went to Tampa Bay and got stomped by the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers beat them 28-13. In kind of a very Baker game. He had 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. This is kind of what he does. 18 for 29, 295 yards. So really not the worst. There's obviously enough to score him 3 touchdowns, and the Raiders don't have enough on their team to catch up. Sincere McCormick tried his best, 15 for 78. So really not the worst.
He's been the only successful running back on this team all season.
Yep. Desmond Ridder came in this game. Did Zane O'Connell get hurt, or they just benched him? I thought he got hurt. Yeah.
This team, they already had bad quarterbacks as is. I mean, compared to the rest of the NFL. But Gardner Minshew gets hurt. Aiden O'Connell gets hurt twice in the season. So now it's Desmond Ridder. This guy wasn't on the team beginning of the season.
Yeah, and then Vegas must have remembered they do have other tight ends, and they threw it to Michael Mayer more than Brock Bowers. Remember that name from last year? 7 for 68 this game. Jacoby Myers was about the same, 7 for 67, and Brock Bowers was 3 for 49. That's about where that stops on the Vegas side. Like we talked about, they don't have really much of anything to keep up with the Buccaneers.
They didn't use Brock Bowers in this game.
No.
Because they used Michael Mayer. But
right. But that's a mistake on their part.
Yes, it is.
Rashad White ended up 17 for 90 and a touchdown. So really not that bad. But I guess you said Bucky was hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt in this. He was hobbled coming in. He had 28 touches last game, and as a 192-pound running back, maybe that wasn't the best. I mean, he was having fun. He was doing great out there last game, but he hurt his hip, and he was battling through that. Didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. Limited practice on Friday. And then in this game, he just got back tightness, and they're like, yeah, Bucky, you're already beat up like everywhere. Yeah. Like, we'll just hold you out. We can beat these Raiders without you. So, yeah, Rashad White did have a good game, though. Props to Rashad.
Yeah, Rashad had that 17 for 90 and 1 touchdown rushing. He also threw in another receiving touchdown just for fun. Then, speaking of other receiving touchdowns, their rookie, Jalen McMillan, he ended up with 2 touchdowns this game. Yeah. 4 for 59 total. So, I mean, he had a pretty good game, too, and their other pass catchers just kind of status quo. Cade Otton kind of had a big game, 3 for 70 yards, and Mike Evans, of course, he'll always be Mike Evans and get some yards, 4 for 69, and Sterling Shepard's been coming on this year and always seemingly there.
Yeah.
He was 4 for 63, but I guess in place of Chris Godwin. There it is. So the Bucs, they just have more weapons than the Raiders do, and they were able to hold them off that way by just scoring points. That's kind of where that stops.
That's really it, yeah. Buccaneers came in, did what they had to. Now they are the division leaders in the NFC South.
Yeah, 7 for 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll move to my live reporting game. live boots on the ground in Acrisure Stadium. The Steelers beat up on the Browns pretty bad, 27-14. And you talked about the
Jags Titans, how it wasn't bad. It wasn't good defense. It was bad offense.
This is kind of how the start of the Steelers Browns game was. They couldn't really score barely anything in seemingly the first half. They ended up with 13. It was 13-7 at half. Steelers were winning, but that's kind of what the game felt like. It wasn't like good. It wasn't super incredible defense for the Steelers Browns game to start out, but it was just bad offense. Neither team could get anything going. It was pretty slow moving. But yeah, they just once after that, and they got more into the game and all that, and it was a Steelers beatdown, and it's what I was hoping would happen, and what all Steelers fans were hoping would happen, because we can't go up there and lose to the Browns like that.
Not at home.
We cannot do that at home. We can't lose to the Browns at home, and we did not. As far as big standouts in this game, there was really no one that like really stuck out. Najee had a solid game. Nick Chubb had a solid game. They were pretty similar workload type and all that, but Jaylen Warren, to me, he looked more electric this game. He was the change of pace they needed. He made the bigger plays, seemingly, is what it felt like, especially down the stretch when they needed a carry, they needed a conversion. They had him in the game. He ended up 9 for 47. Naj was 16 for 53 and a touchdown thrown in there. And even Russell Wilson had some rushing in there. 6 for 17.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Jaylen Warren started out the year injured, and I think basically as people watching football, we kind of expect okay, he's back playing, he should be back to himself, but it's just that's not how the human body heals. You can be you can be cleared to play football, but you're not fully 100% of yourself yet. And Jaylen Warren's starting to look like
he
100%
finally
of himself.
is. Yeah. Which we should also mention about injuries. George Pickens ended up being out this game.
Yeah.
So that incredibly limited the Steelers pass game. Russell Wilson was not Mr. Unlimited. He was Mr. Very Limited. And
there's no jump ball receiver. I guess Mike Williams, but nobody is George Pickens.
Nobody is George Pickens. No one can put up that type of or can take that many targets on this team at least.
Scotty Miller sighting.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to go down through it. Russell Wilson's still dealing to everybody in this game. Freiermuth had some big plays in this game. He ended up 3 for 48 and a touchdown. And that's one thing also that is awesome in the Steelers Stadium. You just hear the boos.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, in ode to Heath Miller from years past. So that's awesome whenever he gets in there and then has an incredible punt into the stands. It was clean punt into the stands. Unfortunately, not on my side, so I didn't get to catch it. But it would have went way over my head anyways. Scotty Miller, yeah, like you said, good old Scoot Miller had a sighting there. 3 for 38 he ended up with. It was his first catch was at the far end of the field from where I was sitting, and I'm like, who was that Scotty Miller? And yeah, it was. Mike Williams had some huge plays. He had one really standout, huge 4th down conversion that was an incredible catch. It was behind him and to the side of him, and he somehow caught it, proving that he's worth that money or trade or whatever that it took to get him in there. He ended up 3 for 36. And then Van Jefferson caught his one target for a touchdown, so that was
Nice.
Sweet, wide open. It was just kind of spreading it around. It was a slow day for both offenses, honestly. I just went through the Pittsburgh side, but on the Browns side, it was pretty slow for anyone not named Jerry Jeudy or David Njoku.
He's been on a tear.
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy is 5 for 64 and a touchdown. David Njoku 7 for 42 and a touchdown. So. It was just kind of a slow day overall, but the Steelers were clearly the better team. They were clearly more determined to just put the beat down, and they really won the game because of forced turnovers. They forced James Pierre had a pick near the end of the game. Who else?
Keanu Benton.
Yeah, Benton had an incredible pick. It was tipped up in the air, and Benton took it, and that put the Steelers at their 20 or 30, which obviously ended up being a score, and that helped him out. And then Pierre had that one closer to the end of the game to help seal it. And then what really sealed the game in the end was they muffed a punt and fumbled it, and Skoranek recovered it down near the end zone and did a lap right in front of us. It was awesome. And that's really what helped him win the game. This game Kadarius Toney, I forgot he was on the team, on the Browns, and he was there, and he had a fumble and lost it and ended up getting cut from the team.
Yeah,
So
not anymore.
Yeah, as he does. It was just kind of a sloppy game, and Myles Garrett was absent. See, he's not that good against the Steelers every time.
Definitely a Steelers-style win.
It was a very Steelers game, and we were all obnoxious, and it was sweet. And we were powered by the Hall of Honor ceremony, which we got to mention because those guys deserve it. You'll have to get that linebacker's name because I already forgot.
Jason Gilden.
Jason Gilden. So they did the Hall of Honor at halftime. Big names. Jason Gilden, huge, incredible stud from the late 90s, early 2000s, I think, is when he was there. I could be completely wrong, but I think that's when he was there. It was right before my time. And then some studs that we know more. Casey Hampton, an absolute dog. And
Dude looks like a sumo wrestler.
not anymore.
Oh, really?
But he did when he played. Yeah, he
Yeah.
slimmed up a little bit.
Oh.
But yeah, when he played, he was an absolute dog for the Steelers.
Oh, by the way, Gilden played 94 to 2003. You were right.
Okay, cool. Sweet. And then Willie Parker,
He's so fast.
absolute stud. So fast. And then the one, the only Dick LeBeau.
Got his signature on that hat.
Right here.
Can't tell, especially with this camera quality,
But it's right
there.
here.
It's there.
Yeah, so that was awesome. Whole game in general was awesome. The vibes were up the whole game, so I had no doubt in my mind at all that the Steelers were going to pull that one out. And, of course, as if we even need to say it, Broswell's the best kicker in the league.
Yeah, he is.
By far. No question about it. Dustin Hopkins missed 2 kicks this game. And it was hilarious. Yeah, Boswell's he's a machine. He's automatic. It's not even a question. And I don't know how he kicks. Like, that's what makes him so good is because I was there on a nice day. That was a really nice game, but it was still just where that stadium's at. It's always windy. Like, there's a little bit of wind, and he knows it. He's that guy.
He is.
And Steelers win the Steelers game. And
do.
Even so, they still ended up scoring 27 points somehow,
Crazy.
which is kind of high.
Unheard of.
Yeah, it's almost unheard of. But
Like before these
These past few weeks.
Yeah.
Basically, ever since before
we
Russ
would
took over.
struggle to reach 20.
Yeah, seriously. Well, sorry, Cletus. The Seahawks went into Arizona
Oof.
and they beat his Cardinals 30-18. Maybe that's why Cletus couldn't show up today.
It might be. He might be
'Cause-
sick.
Yeah, I mean, Cardinals, they got swept by the Seahawks now. It's going to be kind of tough sledding for them to get back into it. They're not out of it. Not out of it by any means, but now they're behind the Seahawks and the Rams, and the Seahawks have the tiebreaker on them. And the Cardinals have a tough schedule coming up because next up they got, well, I guess Patriots is not going to be that tough, but Panthers is now tough game. Rams, tough game. 49ers probably going to be a tough game as well. But I guess we'll talk about it because, once again, Kyler Murray's got to try to do everything basically by himself. It's Trey McBride, and then nobody else can get open. But Michael Wilson did have a long 41-yard touchdown to start off the game.
James Conner was running pretty good.
James Conner's got to be he's like heater one game and then like freezer the next game.
Yeah, pretty much.
This season. But
Ice bath, hot tub. Ice bath, hot tub.
Yes, but
Yeah.
for like what is he, 29 now?
I think so.
For a 29-year-old running back, I mean, you got to be very grateful for these 18 carries for 90 yards games that he's putting up here. Because Kyler Murray he didn't do anything on the ground. It's 16 yards on the ground, but Kyler Murray did pass for 259, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, kind of trying to force things to get back into the game. But Trey McBride, as I said, is only receiver basically all season. 7 catches on 14 targets, 70 yards. But it was all Seahawks in this game, and it wasn't really. I mean, Geno was very efficient in this one, 24 of 30 for 233 and 1 touchdown. But it was Zach Charbonnet who carried the load, and Zach Charbonnet showed off some wheels on this 51-yard scamper that I didn't think he had.
No, me neither.
I thought he was just kind of like a bruiser who didn't really get that great of yards per carry. But in this game, he went 22 carries for 134 and 2 touchdowns. I was pretty impressed because they didn't have Ken Walker in this game, so it was a full dose of Zach Charbonnet with a little bit of Kenny McIntosh sprinkled in there.
Delicious.
Once again, Cletus would be sad. Oh, wait, more on Zach Charbonnet. He also added 7 catches for 59 yards.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was all Zach
Domination.
Charbonnet.
Yeah.
Yes, domination. Finally, in this game, the Cardinals defense looked like the poor
on paper display that they have of just names that you've never heard of.
Yep.
But Cletus would be sad if I didn't mention that Jackson Smith-Njigba is the best receiver in the league.
Yep.
5 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. He is clearly the best wide receiver on this team.
For sure.
Basically, he's made Tyler Lockett irrelevant. Tyler Lockett had 1 target, 0 catches, had that Evan Stewart treatment in this game.
Yep.
But DK Metcalf is merely just a number 2 behind what Jackson Smith-Njigba has been putting up, especially recently. But yeah, I mean, basically, Seahawks controlled clock, ran the ball. They were efficient through the air. They basically did everything that the Cardinals wanted to do and just couldn't. And the Seahawks weren't even home.
Yep.
I mean, Seahawks now have a stranglehold on this division. They're 8-5. Rams are now 7-6.
Yep, 7-6.
7-6, and Cardinals and 49ers are both 6-7.
Spreading out a little bit.
Spreading out a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not over yet, but Seahawks definitely came in here and made a statement in Arizona. Budda Baker in this game, 18 tackles. Crazy.
He was the whole defense.
He was the whole defense in this game because they couldn't sack Geno even once.
No.
So, Cardinals are definitely taking a step back. Seahawks are taking a step up, man. And I don't think any of us saw it coming. I feel like just 5 weeks ago I said Seahawks probably aren't going to make the playoffs. They're going to get last in this division, and now they're first and looking good.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they don't really – this is kind of how they feel like they win. Like they dominate, but they don't feel flashy.
They don't
So
flash,
they kind of
exactly.
fly under the radar.
They do.
a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
But if they keep playing like this, they're going to be a problem.
Defense is now clicking, too, under Mike McDonald. Whatever he did in their bye week, changed something up, and it's been working.
Yeah.
It's been working.
Let's get into probably the game of the week, possibly game of the year.
Yeah.
Absolute just highlight game. Highlights all over the field. And boy, do I have an apology to make to one Mr. Josh Allen. I put him at my – if we did quarterback rankings this week, Josh Allen would be tier 1 of 1. I put Lamar number 1 as of last week. Mm-hmm. But boy.
That was through week 13.
That was through week 13.
Yeah,
we did. But
we did.
if it was this week, Josh Allen's got to be MVP, right?
And he lost.
At this point, and he lost.
But yeah, everybody, that's all you see all over social media is like, wow, Josh Allen. It's crazy. Like, I don't think anybody's ever like really supplanted themselves as the MVP and then lost the game at the same time.
Yeah, we'll get into Josh Allen a little bit more, maybe in a little bit, few minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we'll save. I'll save all my deep dive. That's just a little teaser there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was just incredible week. I just talked about Josh Allen. He's incredible, and that whole Bills team was incredible. I mean, you got Khalil Shakir becoming one of the best receivers in the league, at least best for Josh Allen.
And yards after catch.
And yards after catch is incredible. He had like a 50-yard touchdown, and it was like a 15-yard pass or something like that.
Yeah, he broke tackles.
Probably
crazy,
broke 4 or 5 tackles
Mm-hmm.
on the way to the end zone. But Amari Cooper is incredible for this team. And also Mac Hollins. He's just he had an incredible game this week too. So those boys, they ended up. Khalil Shakir was 5 for 106 and a touchdown, with that 51-yard touchdown being his longest. Amari Cooper was 6 for 95, seemingly always open, catches everything. Mm-hmm. Mac Hollins 4 for 57 and a touchdown. Probably one of the most humble under the radar receivers that just gets down and dirty and does his job and just makes incredible catches. And then even got Ty Johnson into the mix, 2 for 55 and a touchdown.
41-yard touchdown.
Yeah, 41-yard touchdown. So then their rush game wasn't really anything because it really couldn't be because the Bills got down early and they were down bad. Mm-hmm. And that leads me right back to Josh Allen. If any other quarterback was in that like offense, no one could have came back. I believe that no one could have came back. Not Patrick Mahomes, not Lamar Jackson, not Matt Stafford. Josh Allen is incredible. We'll just leave it at that. He was 22 for 37, 342 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he also had 10 for 82 on the ground with another 3 touchdowns. No picks, no sacks, no nothing. He was incredible. He was next level, and he lost. So on to the other side, to this uber confusing Rams team that I just don't understand. What I'll get into that in a second. But the Rams, absolutely incredible.
Matthew Stafford. I've talked about it before. I've been high on him this whole year just because he's next level and does things that other quarterbacks cannot do, especially mainly when he has his weapons. We've talked about this, and his weapons were there. Puka Nacua, 12 for 162 and a touchdown.
Yeah, he's probably
He's wide receiver 1.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
how do I want to put him? I'd
Yeah.
say top 3, definitely.
Definitely top 3.
He's definitely making his. No, Jamar Chase. I put Jamar Chase at number 1.
Jamar Chase 1.
Yeah, I think he's past Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill seems
Oh,
to have
yeah.
lost a
At this
step,
point,
especially this
if we were to
season.
draft right now, yeah, Puka Nacua's
Yeah.
going ahead of Tyreek all day long.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson. I'd probably put
He might
Jettas.
he might stay at 2 for me.
Okay.
Justin Jefferson,
Yeah,
just
so-
because of
yeah,
past
yeah.
history.
yeah. So
Puka
probably 3.
That's probably 3. Yeah. I mean, Nico Collins has slowed down. He had a great start to the season, but Puka. I mean, Nico was really good last year.
Yeah.
He's really good this year, but the dominance that Puka has whenever he's on the field, he can beat you so many different ways. It's
And recency bias is a problem because Puka's been hot, but like you can't deny those catches he was making.
They weren't easy catches by any
No.
means.
He was catching everything thrown his way. He was
he
12 receptions. He had 14 targets.
and he gets clobbered after every catch.
Every single catch, he gets hammered. He was 12 for 162 and a touchdown, and his longest was 21.
So that number's not even skewed by like some 80-yard touchdown or something like that.
Oh, and a rushing touchdown.
And he had a rushing touchdown thrown in there. Cooper Kupp, incredible game, just overshadowed by Puka, but he is 5 for 92 and a touchdown. And Tutu Atwell had a little more rub this week, 3 for
Big
45.
catch.
Yeah,
big catch at the end.
Yep. That's about it where it ended there, but because he didn't need anything else. Kyron Williams, he maybe didn't have the best yards per carry, but he got a workload this week. 29 for 87 on the ground. 2 touchdowns thrown in there just for fun. And he looked really good. It wasn't great yards per carry, but he was
running.
it was tough running against this Bills team that was really putting up a fight, at least on the line.
Yeah, they were.
not through the air.
Not through the air. Matthew Stafford ended up 23 for 30, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns. No picks, no sacks, no nothing. But, yeah, this was just a game filled with highlights, but it was filled with highlights because the defense absolutely stunk, and it was just offense,
Which the NFL loves, I'm sure, because that's
views, that's money, that's business.
With 0 turnovers in this game.
No turnovers, and, just
No sacks at all.
no sacks. I guess what I can say to sum this up, Stafford's on the Rams side. Stafford's incredible.
Yeah.
His receivers are even better. Puka's not a human being right now.
No.
Cooper Kupp is incredibly good. Kyron Williams is a stud. He does the tough, hard running, and their whole offense was firing on all cylinders. Full system go. And on the Bills side, them too. They lost, but no team should be able to come back from whatever they were down, like 21 or I don't even remember, but it doesn't matter. Josh Allen, 1 of 1 right now, MVP candidate, whatever. We all know how good he is. Amari Cooper, incredible. Khalil Shakir, great. Matt Collins proving to be better and better and better. And their rush game, man, who needs it? That's Josh Allen. He's their rush game.
Yeah, exactly.
But like I said earlier about the Rams being confusing,
Very.
we'll end on this. The Rams are confusing because these past few weeks, they
barely beat the Patriots.
then they were
Crushed by the Eagles.
Yeah.
That we just talked about their pass game being almost nothing, but they have Saquon Barkley. And they barely beat the Saints.
Yeah.
And then they just come out and absolutely kill the Bills. I mean, it ended up being close, but they were
Oh, and if
dealing.
you go back even further, they lost to the Dolphins.
Yeah, they lost to the Dolphins, and you can just go back and back. We've talked about it all year. Rams are confusing. Never know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
The Rams almost play like the Steelers. They play up to their competition or down to their competition is what it feels. What it feels like they've done this year. But they're both hot. I don't think anyone wants to play either of these teams right now.
Not after this game.
Not after this game.
The whole NFL saw this.
Yeah. So this was a great game. It was incredibly exciting, and it was great. It was just great, great all around.
It was. 49ers finally looked like their old selves from
Right once I
last
chose
year.
the Bears.
Yeah. They won in Santa Clara 38-13 against the Bears. I guess the Bears, they fired their head coach, Matt Eberflus, before this game, but they didn't get the head coaching bump. Maybe that's because they got the offensive coordinator firing bump.
Right.
So you can't, but because you are promoting the same guy.
He already got the low.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't get the double bump.
The magic ran out.
Exactly. You already had it. But Caleb Williams in this game, he was sacked 7 times.
Yeah.
In total, that lost him 46 yards.
Yikes.
They had more punts in the first half, 5, than they had total yards, which 4.
That's
And the
Bears.
49ers had over 300 yards in the first half. So this game at halftime was 24-0, and the 49ers just never looked back.
Yeah.
And because the Bears just had nothing, offense couldn't get anything going. Caleb Williams only passed for 134 yards, didn't turn the ball over, but threw for 2 touchdown passes. DeAndre Swift has been one of the worst starting running backs in the NFL this season.
100%.
And of course he had a couple. Maybe I'll give him maybe 3 good games in there, but we're in week 13 now, and if you're putting up 10 bad games to not help your rookie quarterback move the ball on offense, it's not good.
They're probably hoping they didn't. They were probably wishing they didn't trade away Khalil Herbert. And, I mean, where's Roshan Johnson? Is he hurt?
He might. I'm guessing he's hurt. I can't remember, but I'm guessing he's probably hurt.
Sorry,
because
Bears fans. I'm not a Bears fan.
Yeah, because Darrington Evans was a number 2 running back in here, and he wasn't good either.
No.
DJ Moore is finally, I don't know, he's finally being targeted like the number 1 receiver that he is.
Yep.
I mean, obviously, 6 catches for 49 yards on 8 targets is not going to light up a stat sheet, but he was the number 1 target getter in this offense, as he deserves to be. He should be the safe option, the always open option for Caleb Williams to make things easier, but nothing was easy today, because here's what they went up against. For the 49ers offense, Brock Purdy, very, very big bounce-back game after he'd been struggling. 20 of 25 through the air, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks, only sacked once. Isaac Guarendo in this game, his first game ever as a starter, rookie out of Louisville, 15 carries, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns, added a 50 yards for the receiving game. 27-yarder in there, and then another 23-yarder as well. He really provided a spark in this rushing game after basically you lost Christian McCaffrey, you lost Jordan Mason, Elijah Mitchell's been out. Almost forgot he was on the team.
Right.
So this is down to your 4th string running back, and this guy goes out and puts up a very great game for a rookie. George Kittle is having maybe the best season of his career, along with Jawan Jennings. Jawan Jennings went 7 catches for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. George Kittle went 6 catches for 151 yards. Dude is a yak god. Him and Jonnu Smith. I mean, George Kittle's obviously got the history on his side of being a yak god for all his career.
Yep.
But he's looked amazing this year. You know who hasn't looked amazing? Deebo Samuel.
Yep.
And it hurts me to say it, but Deebo Samuel is probably going to get cut. He's not going to be on this team next year.
Doesn't feel that way.
I don't know if he's playing hurt and they're just hiding it, or
Right.
because he just doesn't look explosive anymore. Maybe he's lost a step. He is older now. I mean, he's 28 years old. That's not exactly, shouldn't be a death blow for a wide receiver, but he went 2 catches, 22 yards in this game. I mean, I know that he's been talking on social media. He's like I'm not playing bad. They're just not giving me the ball. But it hasn't looked good for Deebo, and it hurts me to say that because I'm a Deebo guy, but it wasn't good. But overall, the 49ers in this game, they were very good, and it was, I mean, against a down bad Bears team, this is what you got to do, and they went in there and they did it.
Yep.
And they finally put up some kind of fight after it looked like they were just completely down and out.
Yeah, and I think they got some of their dudes back. They at least got Travarius Ward back. The Niners did.
They got Hufanga.
Yeah, Hufanga was back.
Hufanga back.
So those are huge. For their back end.
Their safety play this year with Malik Mustafa, a rookie, and Jair Brown, a second-year man out of Penn State, it's been bad.
Yeah, it's been real bad.
They really need Hufanga. They also need another linebacker behind Fred Warner because Devondre Campbell has been bad. Yeah. So excited for another week where I just hope that Dre Greenlaw gets back. I mean, this team is not out of it yet. Another 6-7, but
they sacked him 7 times.
He sacked him 7 times.
Leonard Floyd had 2. Malik Collins had 1. Yeah, you can say the fun one.
Yetur Gross-Matos.
Gross-Matos. Yeah, he had 3.
Yeah. Now I know this offensive line for the Bears is bad, but still very impressive showing for this defense. Very much needed win for this San Francisco team, and maybe they hope that they can be back on track now.
Yeah, San Fran's one of the teams that felt like they needed one of these wins the most. Real bad to get them back on track.
Yeah, okay. This week it's my turn to talk about the Chiefs.
Yep.
We all kind of have to struggle through it because it's annoying, and the Chiefs won in another lucky way this week in Arrowhead.
Yeah.
19-17 over the Chargers.
This is funny because I think the line at one point was like 4.5, and we're like, okay, we can maybe choose the Chiefs, and like you did, it's like because it's a small line, and they end up they somehow still don't cover.
I know they still don't cover. I don't know if I'd like to pull up like the betting stats on them. But I don't. I bet they've maybe covered their line twice this season?
Twice.
Maybe
once.
Oh, it's bad. Like,
It's bad.
Should the Chiefs even be favored anymore? Like, this Vegas?
I don't know. It's bad. But Patrick Mahomes in this game, he was sacked 3 times, but he went 24 of 37, 210 yards and 1 touchdown. Nothing in this game was really, on either side, lighting up the board on offense.
Right.
I mean, Travis Kelce, 45 yards, Xavier Worthy, 41 yards, Nuke Hopkins, 32, Juju, 31. Everything was, as what the Chiefs have been all year, dink and dunk, and just kind of make plays when you have to win the game, and then bank in a kick off the upright. But let me just do some takeaways here. We'll do the Chiefs first because they did win. But let me just say, if they were against almost any other offense, they could have been crushed.
Yes.
This defense was getting beaten by Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnston, and Stone Smart through the air.
Yep.
And the Kansas City offense could only do just as much as this Chargers offense. The Chiefs gained only 10 more yards than the Chargers. And we all know the narrative. Well, the Chiefs just know how to win games. It doesn't matter how you win. It's just winning that matters.
If you're still on that boat, I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know how you're still on that boat.
I know. I don't know because I am starting to get really worried with how they're winning because we're all seeing the memes about how the Chiefs are the luckiest team in the NFL history, and they really are. Beat the Ravens after Isaiah Likely's toe was barely out of bounds on the possible game-winning touchdown catch.
How it all started.
Week 1.
Yep.
No call on defensive pass interference in the end zone on Kyle Pitts, where the defender was draped all over him, wasn't even looking at the ball, had his back to the quarterback. That would have been the game-winning touchdown catch against the Falcons. They blocked the Broncos' game-winning field goal.
Yeah.
They recovered a fumble off Aiden O'Connell's chest after an unexpected snap to beat the Raiders, and then Matthew Wright, the third kicker for the Chiefs this season, banked in a field goal to win this game against the Chargers. Yeah, wins are wins, but these are all uncontrollable ways to win games. Nothing that Patrick Mahomes did to win these games in the end.
Yeah.
These are all their luck.
Yep. Because Patrick Mahomes of past they wouldn't have even had to kick a field goal. They would have walked it down and threw a touchdown.
Yeah, game-winning drive. Wouldn't have. Yeah, it's when it comes down to playoffs, maybe their offense and defense magically turn it back on. I could definitely see that happening because they seem to do that. But for right now, I don't feel confident in the Chiefs to win big games against the best playoff teams. Because here they barely beat a Chargers team with coffee tables for pass catchers.
Yeah.
Ladd McConkey didn't play. Will Dissly left.
Yep.
So that takes me to the Chargers. Once again, Justin Herbert is making it work. Dude, if his head coach would have let him actually throw the ball over the first 5 weeks of the season so he had better stats, Justin Herbert would no doubt be in the MVP race.
Yes, 100%.
He's playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now, and that's before you even realize who he's been throwing to. J.K. Dobbins is on IR. Yeah. His running backs right now are Gus Edwards and Kamani Vidal. They ran for a combined 70 yards at 3.9 yards per carry. So there was no rush that was greater than 10 yards in this game. So
nothing to write home about.
Nothing to write home about. Ladd McConkey didn't play. Will Dissly left. So magically, Josh Palmer brought in 6 catches for 78 yards. Quentin Johnston remembered how to catch. 5 times for 48 yards and a touchdown. Oh, and then the backup tight end, Stone Smart, who's nobody's ever heard of, he added 54 receiving yards and averaging 18 yards per catch. So it's not great production in the stat sheet, and it won't be very successful against the better playoff teams, but it just more proves how great of a quarterback Justin Herbert is.
Yep.
And it shows how much he's improved this season after not really leveling up since his rookie season. In past years, it was more of, okay, where is Keenan Allen? He's not open. I'll check it down to Austin Eckler.
That's exactly what it's been.
Very plain, unexplosive style of offense where he was almost scared to take shots and just relied on 2 guys. Now, he doesn't have any elite playmakers he can rely on. No. He is the elite playmaker now.
Yep.
He's reading coverages, going through his reads, scanning the field, finding the open man. While the stats don't show it this season, I believe this is Justin Herbert's best season of his pro career.
I completely agree.
He's been great.
I talked about it before. I'll say it again. He's playing more confident. He's playing with a better attitude. And it's clear to see, and that's what makes him better this year.
Just better vibes all around. Jim Harbaugh, like I get annoyed with how much he hypes up his guys to like unrealistic levels, but he does create a good atmosphere that it's happy there.
Yep.
Everybody wants to buy in. There's no more Brandon Staley, who looked like he aged 10 years in his 3 years coaching the Chargers and
Absolutely.
like putting up terrible defense. And yeah, it's just very good vibes in the Chargers for the Chargers, even though they lost this game.
Yep. Then our Monday night game, the Bengals finally get a win against the Cowboys, 27-20.
They lucked out.
Lucked out. But they get a win, a much-needed win for the Bengals team. Burrow was dealing this game.
He was.
33 for 44, 369 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he had a pick thrown in there too. And Jamar Chase is Jamar Chase. Like, insane. 14
Offensive player of the year.
Yeah. And I don't think it should even be a question at this point. 14 for 177 yards, 2 touchdowns. Just unbelievable. He's unreal. And then Chase Brown also in the receiving game. He was 6 for 65 and a touchdown. And Chase Brown on the ground, not the worst, not the best. 14 for 58. Nothing crazy, nothing to write home about. But Yossi Vosh, I don't know why some people say Yossi Vosh. Whatever it is. Andre, he was 4 for 41. And the other guys had some catches thrown in there too, but Burrow was dealing, and he put the team on his back this game, and him and Jamar Chase, they were sack racing with the rest of their team on their back, one leg tied together.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what it's been a few of these games, but it was really this game because T. Higgins didn't do much of anything. But I guess didn't need to. Cooper Rush, he honestly still doesn't look that bad. Like, he hasn't completely imploded yet and done anything super dumb to lose them the game.
Super dumb.
By any means. But nothing flashy either. 16 for 31, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he had a pick also. But Rico Dowdle, heck of a game. 18 for 131 yards on the ground.
Past few weeks, he's been crazy.
Yeah, he's been running really, really well. CeeDee Lamb, he had some big plays, which was good to see because it's kind of been absent here and there this year. But he was 6 for 93 and a touchdown. Turd Ferguson was back. He was 3 for 32. And that's kind of where that ends, too. But it was a decent game, pretty good game. It was good that the Bengals finally got a win. And the Cowboys defense was trying their best to wreak havoc, though. I was trying to find... But Eric Kendricks, he ended up with like 12 tackles. Pretty darn good.
Yeah, DeMarvion Overshown is now out for the year. He tore his ACL, PCL, and MCL.
Yeah. That was bad to see.
Yeah.
Sad to see. And then, man, I'm blanking. What's his name? Was it pretty much non-existent? Micah Parsons. He didn't really make any impact.
Oh, he was so pissed off at the end of the game.
Oh, yeah. He was not happy.
That his, the punt.
Bengals had to punt. It was 20-20. Yep. 2 minutes left. And it was blocked. It was blocked by Nick Vigil, I want to say his name is, of the Cowboys. So it's bouncing down. So after it's blocked by the opposing team, it's a dead ball.
Yeah.
Unless a Cowboys player were to touch it, which a Cowboys player came bouncing right to him. He's like, I can catch this and just go down before it bounces any further. No, bounced right off his hands. Bengals player got it. They got the ball at like the 35-yard line or something like that. And they could then go back out there and score a touchdown to make it 27-20.
Yep, and that's how he won.
Yep.
And that's the Cowboys.
Yeah. This season, that is the Cowboys.
That is the Cowboys this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it ended up, it kept you up at night because you're like, oh, boy, what's going to happen? And then, that dumb play that's like, I feel bad for the kid because I think he was a rookie. That made that
Amani Oruwariye. He was just raised up off the practice squad.
Yeah, so you got to feel bad for him, but you can't feel bad. I mean, they had plenty of opportunities to score otherwise.
They did.
But that was that game to cap off Monday night and NFL Week 14. Let's glaze some of these folks.
Yeah, I know you got a big one that you wanted to start off with.
I got a big one. Well, maybe we'll do 2 this week. We'll do like maybe one.
Flip back and forth.
Yeah, we can do that. I'll start out though. Have to do it. Josh freaking Allen.
Yeah.
He's so good. I already talked about him, but I wanted to talk about some of these stats that I found because they're next level and they just prove that he's next level and an incredible player. So let's go through it. I got like 6 key points here. First, this past game was his 5th game with at least 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns.
This season?
No, I think that's career
okay.
because
Still.
yeah, he passed Steve Young's record of 4. So incredible. Keep it going. This was for the 23rd time in his career. He had 2 pass touchdowns and 1 rush touchdown in a game, which passed Cam Newton's record of 22 for most of all time. He extended his NFL record to 10 games with at least 300 passing yards and 50 rushing yards.
What?
Yeah. So, which that's his record. So, and then he has now tied Tom Brady and Drew Brees. Remember those guys?
I remember him.
He has tied them both for the most games all time, 9 games, with at least 3 pass touchdowns and 1 rush touchdown.
Oh my gosh.
He has also tied Cordell Stewart. Remember that dude?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty stud.
Steelers.
Yeah, Steelers quarterback for a while. Tied Cordell Stewart for most games in NFL history, 2, with 3 or more pass touchdowns and 2 rush touchdowns. And he also, to finish it off, he now has 252 career touchdowns. Just total touchdowns. He has reached 250 total in his 107th game, which tied with Patrick Mahomes. Know that guy?
Oh yeah.
He's tied with Mahomes for the fewest amount of games to reach 250 combined touchdowns in NFL history.
Wow.
107 games.
The exact amount of games.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
107 games, 252 touchdowns.
Yep.
That math is crazy. But like touchdowns per game. That's like basically 2.5
2.5
per game.
touchdowns a game. So
Wow.
yeah, Josh Allen, glaze him, MVP candidate,
MVP.
absolute legend in
Should
the
be the
making.
MVP winner.
Yeah.
All right, I got to glaze a guy who carried his entire offense all the way to the division lead now in the NFC West. It's Zach Charbonnet. I've shat on him before in the past.
Yep.
I'll say Ken Walker is more explosive. He's a better running back. Zach Charbonnet really pushed back in this game, I would say. 134 rushing yards at 6.1 yards per carry over 22 attempts. And then, through the air, he had 59 receiving yards on 7 catches. So do the math. Blah, 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 blah. 180 yards about.
Yeah.
Total.
Stud.
Yeah. And just ran all over the Cardinals defense. Made them look like they were the no-name guys that we thought they were at the beginning of the season. Zach Charbonnet. Hell of a game to put the Seahawks in first place in the NFC West. Big statement game. Good job, Zach.
Do you have a defensive guy? I'm trying to find some stats.
Yeah, I'm going to find some. Yeah, I'll find a defensive guy here. I could highlight Chase Young, 12 pressures in this game, made Drew Lock, but I mean, then again, Drew Lock kind of forced Drew Lock out of the pocket and just kind of gave him all the room in the world to run the ball. I want to go to a big interception that happened this weekend. I don't really want to highlight Keanu Benton, but I'm going to highlight, I don't want to do another Seahawks guy, but I think I feel like I have to. I'm going to go to Ernest Jones. Ernest Jones had a pick in this game.
Yeah.
He had a pressure. He's been leading the team in tackles ever since he joined. This guy was completely drop-kicked off his team.
Yep.
Before the season even started, they sent him off for a 5th-round pick. He was sent to the Titans. And this guy was the defensive play caller. He was the green dot for the Rams the past 2 seasons, the leading tackler for their team. They're like, yeah, we don't need you anymore. I don't know what happened in the locker room. Went to the Titans. Titans then, they're like, yeah, they were in sell mode because Titans are bad this season.
Yep.
Sent him to the Seahawks. Seahawks need a linebacker because Tyrell Dodson and Jerome Baker were sucking, and now they're both off the team, actually.
Yeah.
But Ernest Jones comes in immediately, green dot, and he's just been the leading tackler. He's been, basically since Ernest Jones has gotten there, Mike McDonald has had his leader on defense to really turn this defense around. Seahawks now in first place. I'm really glazing the Seahawks today.
Oh, yeah.
But Ernest Jones has been a huge part of it, a big captain on this team now. If he's not already announced as a captain, he definitely will be because since he's been on this team, he's got 43 tackles over 5 weeks, and he is every bit of the leader of this defense that thought he was going to be on the Rams like he was last year, but the Rams are like, yeah, we don't need you. Seahawks now at a division rival going to be playing against the Rams, and I am excited because this guy is putting on a clinic.
Yeah, that is crazy. I'm going to... They didn't have an incredible week, but they've had an incredible year. And it was big moves. It's going to kind going to kind of be a group of folk.
Okay. Group of folk.
Yeah, the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay.
Defensive side of the ball.
Yes. Ooh.
Specifically, I mean, obviously the whole defense, but specifically a few of the moves they made that are kind of flying under the radar, but I think they are key pieces to this. Yeah, the additions that they made over the offseason. We'll specifically talk about a couple guys here. One, Blake Cashman. Mm-hmm. He's been on an absolute tear. He's been making big plays all year long.
He's the green dot.
Yeah, he's the green dot. He's a huge linebacker. He's a huge part of this incredible Minnesota Vikings defense. And then it should go without saying, the other big guy they picked up.
Please. Van Gink?
Andrew Van Ginkel. Yeah. Andrew Van Ginkel.
I love that guy.
He's an incredible player. He just plays like his hair's on fire. He makes like incredibly hard tackles that I don't know how he's like not hurt half the time. But like he was a huge pickup for this Minnesota Vikings defense. It made no sense to me why Miami got rid of him because he's such an incredible player. But
very underrated.
Yeah, Minnesota did a great job with building this defense and then obviously coaching it with Brian Flores. But those two specific guys, they had some other good pickups. Like I think they picked up
John Grenard.
Grenard. And so he's been incredible too. But
Stephon Gilmore came in as they didn't have any corners. And basically this was after the preseason was done. They brought in Stephon Gilmore after preseason week 3. They're like, hey, we need a CB1. And he's came in and he's held his own.
Yeah, absolutely. So those guys, they're well deserving, and I think they deserve to be highlighted and glazed a little bit because we've talked about the whole Minnesota defense, but they made some serious moves in the offseason to make this whole thing work, make the whole thing run. Well, that finally wraps our Week 14 review. That was a good one, but we had to talk about college, and I had to talk about all those good games this week. So, yeah, thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it. Have any questions, comments, concerns on any of that stuff? Let us know down in the comments. Let us know if you've been to Heinz Field, Acrisure Stadium, because it's awesome, and I highly recommend anyone go, no matter who you're a fan of, although you'll probably get hated on if you're not a Steelers fan.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But I had a great time. I'm glad I could go. So thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you in the next episode for our college preview, NFL preview, and
Week 15.
Week 15. So catching that one. Thank you for watching.